Hey, Crawl Spacers, welcome to a Friday night where we're reviewing some ASM books. Here's who's on the panel. We've got George. What's going on, George?
I'm here.
You're here. It's been a long week, evidently.
Oh, is it horrible?
Horrible week. Hopefully, Kelly's week is better. Kelly, welcome.
Hey, sadly, no.
You didn't have a good week either. What's wrong?
I mean, work, adulting. So,
Yeah.
I've moved everything over to my bed. Immediately pass out after this.
There you go. You just fall back when the podcast is over. There you go. Good job. Someone who could fall asleep immediately is JR. What's going on, JR? JR, wake up. Are you okay?
Oh, sorry about that, Brad. I just kind of was dozed off there, old age and all and things.
You got a bed down there in the basement, JR? In case you ever get in a fight with the missus? I mean,
well, actually, I have them all over town. It depends on how mad she gets at me, is how far I have to go away to get away from her, more or less. Okay. That's what business trips are for. You leave town because the wife is so mad that the town is literally radioactive. So
when JR gets in trouble with Mrs. Goblin, he has to go to a safe house where he's got his gear and a backup glider, and
he drives there in a Punisher van. He's got warehouses like the Punisher.
Yeah.
We got Vinkman signing in. What's going on, Vinkman? How are you, buddy? And we've got Heroing. Hey, Brad and the gang. What's going on, Heroing? Adam's watching. Hey, Adam. How you, buddy? Well, JR just went to a safe house, evidently.
Oh, no.
Power Packers, sup, everyone? Standard Gamer, how are you, sir? Rocking the Red Dead 2 icon. I just finished that game. One of the best video games I've ever played. Have you three played Red? Well, I know JR hasn't. Have you two played Red Dead 2 yet?
Go ahead, Kelly.
No, I was going to say just a long time ago.
It's so good. Did you finish it? No. George, you have?
I keep trying to talk.
I know.
It'll happen eventually. No, I didn't get the game version. I got the online version.
Oh, the Red Dead Online.
And I loved playing it until like some Russian hacker started blowing me up while invisible and started turning me into like UFOs and things like that. And I was like, you know what? If Rockstar's not gonna get a better handle on that in their game, then I'm not coming back to it.
JR, you yelled Lenny. Have you played it?
Lenny, my boy.
Really? You played it?
No, I've actually watched Spencer play it.
Yeah, that was my next guess.
I would have mind blown if JR played Red Dead 2.
Do I look like a Lenny to you?
Oh my God. Wow.
Man, it's one of the classic that and Trevor. I mean, come on. I mean, classic video game characters.
What's
Trevor's from Grand Theft Auto?
Grand Theft Auto 5, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was the crazy guy out in the desert.
Yes. Adam says, "Holy crap, Behrman's still is on the show." There you go. Hey, folks. Shadow Wolf, hello. Standard Gamer, you finished Red Dead 6 times. The game is 60 hours long. Wow.
Longer if you have to grind stuff online.
Oh, man.
You know how many buffalo I killed? I after a while, I felt bad.
Hornacek says that was no Russian hacker. That was Alfred. Vinkman, no, Red Dead will not play on your Game Boy. I don't think Nintendo will support that. And George is alive. All right. Unfortunately, Ashley can't join us, and Mike is heating up a TV dinner. So he will hopefully join us next because he's got the next issue.
I would say always the professional, but you don't pay us anything, so this isn't
true. Jeff, what's going on, man? How are you, buddy? We've got 2 issues of ASM that we're going to tackle, number 862 and 863. JR, you've got this first one. Take me through this, sir.
All right. Well, the issue opens with a horrible reminder that today I had a cavity filled at the dentist.
You sound a little drunk.
Well, wow. I was about to say, I feel like how the Kingpin looks in a couple of pages from now. But looking at Kindred, I realize that Harry in his current life has sent a demon, drinks coffee, and is a George Behrman level smoker. So, in addition to
okay, now wait. Whoa.
All right, hold on.
Hang on. Hold on a hot crap minute. George quits. Well, I can't say the S word on here because Brad, we're supposed to keep it safe for the kiddies.
PG-13, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So listen, George quit smoking back in July. All right.
You're vaping though.
George is a vapor now.
Oh.
Vapist, I don't know what
that reminds me of Uncle Buck. I quit cigarettes. I'm down to 3 cigars a day now. I mean, it sounds just like Uncle Buck.
Oh yeah, no, this isn't. I mean, I don't know. I'm probably going to quit this too because honestly, I think the damage to your lungs is the same. It's like, yeah, this will hurt you. It just won't give you cancer, or maybe it will. We don't know. I don't know. So I'll probably throw these out at some point.
There is. I like what Power Packer says. McNulty has a dinner. When? Okay, JR, take me through the new costume and a new job for Peter Parker.
Well, I started and then I was rudely interrupted.
You insulted the smoker.
You were spreading falsehoods, sir. You were a source of disinformation in these trying times.
That is a charge that has never been leveled against me. But anyway, I'll ignore that right now. But then I remember, I was forced to forget about my trip to the dentist and realized that I wasn't reading an ad about the horrors of poor old dental hygiene, but the beginning of another issue of Amazing Spider-Man where Peter Parker is talking about how hard and miserable his life is, and while reminding us of a long-running storyline that shows no signs of coming to a resolution anytime soon. Yet in the midst of all this self-pitying, a group of supervillains are robbing a bank. And so that we can go to a one-page panel of Spider-Man's brand new costume and latest Marvel promotional stunt. All right. The scene then shifts to a dark, shadowy room of dark, shadowy characters who we wouldn't recognize unless they addressed each other, which fortunately they do. I mean, come on. Well, that's not Hammerhead. Hammerhead doesn't have real hair. Hammerhead has a flat steel plate. If you want to know who Hammerhead really looks, what Hammerhead really looks like, go watch the latest podcast of Spider History and Friday Night Fights, which show Hammerhead in all his glory. And
that does look like a normal dude, doesn't it? Yeah.
You make it sound like he works at Chippendales.
It almost, and honestly, the owl looks like he's went to the dentist after me, and is still his mouth is still dealing with that gumming agent. He doesn't look like the owl. I don't know what he looks like. Anyway, he doesn't even look like what's his name, Bob Guntner.
I think that's a fine representation of the owl.
I think the owl looks great. I kind of agree with Hammerhead. I'll give you that.
Okay, and then we have the Kingpin. Okay, now let's look at the Kingpin there. Look at the Kingpin. He looks evil. He looks focused. He looks menacing. He almost looks like Brad Douglas. Now let's go to
Is he supposed to look like John Candy?
Now let's go to the next page.
I don't have the next page, JR. I'm sorry.
Oh, all right. Well, okay. The next page. Okay, I don't know if you can see this, but here's how
I'll get you. Hold on.
Here's how the Kingpin looks. One, it doesn't even look like the same guy. It looks like he aged. It looks like he aged 30 years or has been sucking lemons for the last 12 hours.
To be fair, it is difficult.
Mike, your microphone's off.
Yeah, McNulty. Just your mic.
All right. Okay.
I feel like we've gone through this before. We're like,
I know.
Every month, change your settings.
Every month it has happened.
There you are. Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. I was just going to say, to be fair, that artists can't, and sometimes it's difficult to draw the same face over and over artistically. Sometimes it looks different from the side than it does the face. Even so, yeah, I get JR's point.
and then Madame Mask. I remember Madame Mask used to have this big mask with pointy things on it, and rivets and everything, and now she just
It was a cool look. Yeah,
and now she just looks like the chick who got painted in Goldfinger, and it's like
Madame Mask.
It's like that's Crime Master. I didn't recognize Crime Master. I mean, first of all, where's his fedora? He's not the Crime Master without
I
a
think he had it
fedora.
on. I think he had it on in the other one where they all first appeared.
JR,
I think
you've
so.
scared Standard Gamer away. I gotta go by. Is what
And to
What
be
do you
fair, who wears fedoras these days?
Way to go,
Except
JR.
hipsters.
But he's a super villain. I mean, come on. Who dresses in green and purple and with pointy purple booties? I mean, come on.
your
you know,
favorite. That's who.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the Marvel universe. Throw a rock out a window, you're gonna hit somebody like that.
All right, so the Kingpin goes into after the Kingpin sucks on a few more lemons and looks 40 years older. He goes into an overlong narration that ultimately ends with him telling his cadre of crooked cronies that he wants Fred Meyer's Boomerang. Okay,
Hang on. Before you go on to the next thing, I want to say this just because you're talking about sucking lemons. My uncle, my mother's younger brother, who I call Uncle Bubba. All right, he eats lemons like with salt. Like he will literally cut the lemon up and eat it like it was an orange.
Really?
Yes, he puts salt on it and just eats them. I mean, he'll eat a lot of them too. He'll sit down and eat a lot of them. It's the freakiest thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
I remember the first time I ever saw that. It was like worse to me than the one time I saw my friend dipping French fries in the mayonnaise.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
that's awful. I've seen
Because
it too.
I've got one of those friends too, and I love him. I would take a bullet for him, but every time I've seen it before, I'm like, "The hell are you doing?"
Mhm.
so like,
this is
was this relative Big Lemon Man, whereas like
No,
your dad
no,
was
no,
Big
no.
Watermelon Man?
no. This is my Uncle Bubba is actually very tall and rakishly thin. There's two sets of genes in my family. Guess which one I got? It wasn't tall and thin. It was short.
You ain't sucking lemons.
Yeah, but I ain't sucking lemons. Got that going for me.
What a weird left turn we just took. Okay.
What was
anyway.
it? I had to. How do I not say something? I mean, I've literally got someone in my family who eats lemons. How do you not mention that when somebody?
Well, we
brings it up?
have gone 600 episodes. I've never heard the lemon story before, so that is original content. So there you go.
Okay, so before I was so rudely interrupted again by George,
By George.
again
Literally.
by George 2 times in 5 minutes. I'm on a roll here, and then and then George drives his big rig right into my train and derails.
Whoa.
It. So
Whoa.
Anyway.
Whoa.
So next we switch to more Peter Parker narration of how he, as Spidey, and Fred, as Boomerang, have been finding pieces of the Lifeline tablet, which was the subject of a far more interesting and compelling story back in Amazing Spider-Man number 68 to number 76 back in the 1960s, but who's counting? And also how he and Fred, in their civilian identities, are trying to navigate life with an alien pet who, for some reason, was the subject of his own multi-part story in earlier issues of Amazing Spider-Man. Fred thinks that by making Gog an Instagram star like so many other pets, that will make them big money. But so far, it's not going so well, and Peter needs to find another source of income. So he decides to take up Nora Winters on her long-standing offer to join the online team of threats and menaces. Along with, and she also has an offer not just for Peter, but for Peter's friend, Spider-Man. And she shows Peter the snazzy new costume they developed for Spider-Man to wear, which will augment his powers, and so that subscribers to the website can log on and literally be connected to Spider-Man and be right there in the midst of his amazing adventures. Of course, Peter's not so sure about all this, particularly worried that live broadcasting as Spider-Man would compromise him and his secrets. Not to mention it just seems weird, tacky, and opportunistic. But then, speaking of weird, tacky, and opportunistic, J. Jonah Jameson walks in the room and assures him that protecting Spider-Man's secrets is a top priority. And this is an opportunity. The world is hungry to know the real Spider-Man, and there's no shame in taking advantage of that. But then Peter is finally swayed by how much money the service is willing to pay him in Spider-Man. And he also gets to keep the suit, which Peter still seems to give in a little bit too easily, but I guess we only have so many pages in a story. So we're in an issue. But getting back to the battle, that we started the issue with, we find out that things are going okay until Spider-Man starts hearing Jonah's voice in his head. Don't forget your one-liners. The audience submits them to read. And yes, indeed, the audience is submitting one-liners or jokes for Spider-Man to read. So Spider-Man reads, "This is from Brendan in Tampa. Hey, Hydro Man, we're trying to have some fun here. Why be such a wet blanket? Wah, wah. Wow, that's terrible." Unfortunately, Spider-Man is showing an astonishing lack of self-awareness because this is exactly how bad most of his jokes are in the first place. So it's it's like I said, Spidey's kind of forgetting how the bottom that he plows sometimes for his jokes. But anyway, the audience also gets to vote on how Spider-Man defeats the villains. So the audience wants to see you do the web muck, Jameson says. So voila, one web muck. So now say that this criminal apprehension was brought to you by UUndies, which Spidey draws a line at this, but unfortunately, of course, Jonah's got a backup plan, and via technology, it pops up above Spider-Man, and all the audience can see that this battle has been brought to you by UUndies. So, of course, in the midst of all this technology, we actually get a blast from the past, an editor's note referring to an occurrence in an older issue, referring to Screwball, and not just referring to Screwball, but referring to Screwball from way back in Amazing Spider-Man 559. Excelsior!
Yeah, that's like what? That's like over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Or no,
like that. Yeah.
8 years ago, maybe.
And it seems as long as we've had an editor's note talking about a prior issue, continuity, I thought that was a bad word these days. So, well, of course, this obviously proves to be very popular with the great unwashed, but not that popular with Robbie Robertson, who is kind of on his high horse right now. It's also eating into the Daily Bugle's diminishing circulation and ad revenue, which, as far as I remember, has been diminishing since the 1970s. In fact, I seem to remember back in Amazing Spider-Man number 103, wrong issue, J. Jonah Jameson complaining about how that evil new technology, television, was resulting in the decline in the Bugle's circulation and numbers. And when Jonah was complaining in that issue about the rise of television, who also happened to be in that issue? None other than GOG. So,
hold it back up. I got you full screen. Let me see it.
Well, this is a Marvel Tales because I couldn't, I was just a poor kid in the, I don't know, when did this come out here? In the 80s?
That looks like a 1970s issue.
Yeah, I think it's like
70s. Yeah, I paid all
that
of
was
30
written by
cents.
Roy Thomas, wasn't it? That
Yep.
GOG issue.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be.
that's Gil Kane art, I think.
And did we ever find out how GOG survived his sinking in the quicksand, or is it like a different GOG?
There was an entire flashback issue that recently in Nick Spencer's run where it explained how GOG came into our world.
How could you forget that, JR? That wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, I know, but it was a forgettable issue.
Remember, it was like the night that the puns became like weapons grade.
It was almost like a whole silent issue, almost in some parts, because it was mostly about how GOG was basically like a pet of a guy of this little kid, and how the kid grew up into a soldier and everything else.
Well, yeah, I remember that, but I don't remember I don't remember them addressing the sinking in the quicksand in the Savage Land.
Who knows?
Nope.
Well,
Nate,
yeah, that's what I'm asking. How did he died? Remember, he sunk in the quicksand, and then Craven the Hunter. You gotta remember also that Doc Ock recruited him as that Return of the Sinister Six or Revenge of the Sinister
in the
Six
90s.
back in the 90s. So
he got out of there in the 90s.
Yeah, he got better.
I don't have to remember, I mean, it's like I need an answer, I'm an old man. I don't have a good memory. I need another editor's note. By the way, GOG survived his sinking in the quicksand in Amazing Spider-Man 103 by, gee whiz.
It should be JR editor's notes. Hey, JR, this is for you.
yeah.
Well,
those over 50, this is for you.
Somebody has to remember, and I stand here demanding truth and honesty in the telling of the Spider-Man mythology, like,
Yeah, right.
like I always have.
I don't think the internet or the stream can handle that much BS. Okay, go ahead.
All right.
Glad I'm
all
wearing
right.
shorts.
Well, Robbie wants to do serious journalism because Robbie's a serious journalist, not that nonsense that Jonah's peddling. So he wants to do an expose on Lonnie Lincoln, a.k.a. Tombstone, because after all, nobody out there in the public knows that Tombstone is a criminal. Of course not. No, and no one knows that Tombstone is probably using money from a criminal empire to fund legitimate businesses. But Robbie and the Bugle are going to show them. Even though everybody should already know. All
It
right.
should be like John Gotti. They should know who,
Yeah.
if you knew who John Gotti was, you should know who like Hammerhead and Tombstone and Silvermane are. It should be
Yeah.
like
Plus-
public knowledge.
Plus, it's kind of hard to basically for a guy who's supposed to be an albino to kind of go incognito. Just
And albino with sharp teeth.
yeah, right.
Yeah, particularly.
Oh, he looks like he's half shark. Yeah, wow. We'll never find him.
particularly like when they were all in the Appalachians at one time, and with banjo and things like that. And Spider-Man asked if they, Spider-Man asked if they'd seen him, and conveniently ignored describing them. But anyway.
Adam in chat says that doesn't make sense. Tombstone and Robbie both got sentenced to go back to jail in the 90s. So Tombstone's already been in the Bugle before.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Banjo was disturbing. Why did you have to bring Banjo up?
that's
that
a
was
deep
weird.
cut.
Yeah, that is a deep cut. It's weird.
So, anyway, but Glory Grant has a new angle to all this. After all, Tombstone has a daughter who is the new Beetle,
Mhm.
and Robbie, and that also, and coincidentally, that triggers that Robbie needs to spend a little more time catching up with Randy, even though at this time Robbie doesn't quite know that Randy has been looking under the Beetle's battle armor for all this time. But anyway.
Wow.
Back at the Kingpin's meeting with the poorly drawn criminal cronies, which includes the head of Silvermane without his car, which it's not the head of Silvermane without his car. I'm sorry. But anyway, the Kingpin still looking like he took a shot to the gums, explaining that whoever brings in Fred Myers gets some clever little get out of jail free card with Iron Man in it. And a joke I did not get. So I didn't get it. I didn't get the significance of Iron Man with little wings flying out of the cage and a get out of jail free card. So
I didn't get that joke either. Do you guys get that joke?
They get a jail free card?
No, that's from
well-
Monopoly. But why is Iron Man on it?
Well, because it's Iron Man. I mean, the Marvel puts him on every damn thing. I'm surprised. I'm surprised Tony Stark's not on one of our like the $10 bill or something.
Kelly or Mike, did you understand why Iron Man was on the get out of jail free?
The
Iron
only
Man's never been to
thing-
jail, I don't think.
The only thing I can think of is because Tony Stark was at once upon a time the base of registration for
Or-
for folks. Maybe he can help people get out
like
of jail.
Civil War
I don't
stuff?
know. I'm stretching.
Well,
Or
I-
go ahead, Kelly.
Oh, I was just gonna say more than likely just superhero like
Monopoly,
themed
yeah.
Monopoly.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have a theory now. It makes sense to me. The guy on the original, the original Monopoly mascot is I forget the name, but like he's always carrying around sacks of money.
Oh.
Yeah, the guy, the daddy.
Oh,
Warbucks guy.
Money
Yeah, the guy-
bags. No,
Uncle Moneybags or
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Penny. Okay, I'm
Sure,
gonna have to look
yeah.
it up.
but I mean, he's always carrying around sacks of money. Who
Mm-hmm.
I mean that basically describes Tony Stark.
There
Yeah.
you go. We figured it out. Mr. Monopoly.
we
Uncle Pennybags. There it is.
There you go.
Uncle Pennybags is the mascot. So in the Marvel unit, okay, there we go. JR, between the five of us, we
Five
figured
of
out the
us.
joke.
Well,
And it's a guy- and it's
I was about to
welcome.
say- I was about to say, Brad, I don't remember how much of a part you actually played in that. I mean,
I
think
Googled
that,
it.
You only Googled the name of the guy. You didn't
No,
work through the theory like George did there.
Yeah,
you
George
know?
and Kelly and Mike worked through it, and then when you said
Yeah.
Monopoly, I went and Googled it.
Look, Douglas. I solved the crime. You just took a damn picture off on the side. All right, I solved the crime. You took a picture of the cops putting the dude in a van. All right, Douglas. All right, all cards on the table here.
I solved the crime.
Mine is the superior intellect.
Oh,
Douglas.
Jesus.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah, I went right.
I love it. Ooh. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna have to.
By the
I'm gonna
way,
have to-
Vinkman, thank you for the super chat. Vinkman says Gog was rescued from the quicksand by Khazar's evil brother, the Plunderer. He tried to use Gog for criminal purposes, but Gog eventually got bored and went off to do Gog stuff.
Wow.
But he'd been sitting there dead for some time, you know. I mean, because Craven rode by in a little raft or whatever and saw that God. Well, whatever.
Don't
But then
question
again,
Vinkman. You were just taking pictures, JR, on the side. Vinkman did the hard work.
But then again, But then again, I should be called out for my hypocrisy because, after all, Amazing Spider-Man 123 did open with the body of Norman Osborn being carried away on a stretcher.
Well, that's true.
So I
Yeah, there
guess
you go.
I guess I don't have a whole lot of.
You
I
don't have much
a whole
to stand
lot
on,
of
no.
credibility.
Spider Yoda
credibility
no
there.
more.
He's got Baby Yoda in a trash can.
All right. Well, since I'm being questioned here and insulted, I'm going to wrap this up. We then go to my hurt feelings can't take anymore.
Like
They
a
are
delicate flower.
Snowflake Fettinger.
Oh my goodness. Kelly, come back. There you are.
I was about to say I needed the backpack, but that's one of the other ones, right? Oh, that reminds
look,
me.
Look at this, JP the third. You're now my favorite, JP. Poor Brad. I appreciate that. When they pick on me, I appreciate. Ha ha.
I don't
Mary
know.
says George is the superior Brad. What?
Well, which one of you guys has a goatee?
Yeah.
He does.
George has got
Have
the
all that
facial hair.
Somewhere I came from Community's darkest timeline and replaced a version of myself that didn't have a goatee.
Oh my gosh.
So we can then go to Spider-Man thumping the bad guys from the beginning of the issue, and here's them, or during the podcast, and here's them calling themselves the Boomerang Revenge Squad. And then he learns the whole thing has been a distraction that keeps Spidey busy so that Bullseye can take a shot at Gog. And
Okay.
there we go, boys and girls, to be continued. What will happen to poor old Gog? Boy, I really care.
Are you willing to lay down $4 to find out next month or in 2 weeks, JR? Probably not, but JR, what's your grade?
You know,
Whoa.
I like this better the first time I read it. I was amused by it, but
Yeah.
some other thing we'll get to pros and cons. I got to give it a C plus. I ultimately rethought it and didn't enjoy it that much.
Mike?
I'm going to give this a B. I actually did like it. I mean, for the most part, it's not like a super story and everything. It's a nice little filler, and we're getting back to some. At least we're off of Kindred.
Well, I don't want to get off the Kindred.
Yeah, sort of.
Kelly, what's your grade?
C minus.
C
I
minus.
I like everything until the end. Like the moment Gog is in it, once Gog is there, it's great. But I don't like the idea of the suit at all. Like so, I can't get behind it. I'm sorry.
Well,
George,
yeah, I kinda-
your grade?
I'm going to give this an A minus, though I. Oh God, who's doing the Darth Vader into the mic?
I don't know. Let me see.
Is it Mike or Kelly?
No,
What-
it's not me.
It's not Kelly.
It's
It's Mike or JR, I think.
no, it's not me because I was breathing.
JR breathe. Okay. I don't know. Anyway, I give it an
A
A
minus?
minus. I give it an A minus, although I have Kelly's problem with it as well, but not to the extent that Kelly does. Not to a vendetta level like Kelly has.
My grade is a C. JR, what's your pros?
Well, initially I did like the humor in it. I like the it doesn't seem like it's quite come off as good as it could, but the idea of Jonah giving Spidey directions on how to fight crime and taking, suggestions from the audience, it seems like it seems like it's a can't miss bit, and it is kind of funny, but it doesn't seem as funny as it should. But what it does remind me of, though, it reminds me of an old What If issue. from many years ago, where Jonah adopted Peter. And at the end of the story, they go into business, a superhero business. This is what this kind of reminded me of. So I did like some of the humor, and the costume doesn't bother me that much, frankly, because I know it's not going to last very long. So.
Venkman is explaining his reference. Thank you for the super chat, Venkman. He says the Gog Plunderer story was an Astonishing Tales, number 17 to 19 from 1973. So, JR, there you go. That's when God came out of the sand.
All right, Venkman. Well, I guess I gotta tip my hat. Which is considering my hair is thinning, isn't staying on my head as well as it used to.
This is like seeing Joe DiMaggio streak end. One night in Cleveland. Oh, goodbye, streak DiMaggio.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so what's George? You gave it the highest grade, I think. Take me through this. What was your big pros?
Okay, number one, that first bad pun that gets thrown out. Hey, Hydro Man, we're trying to have some fun here. Why such a wet blanket? Okay. And it said, hey, this one's from Brendan in Tampa. When I read this, I was like, dude, this is so bad it might as well say this is from Brad and Joplin. All right. And
it did remind me of when we put the comments on the screen. Like, I get it.
So, okay, so there was a lot. I mean, number one, yeah. Well, we'll get to that in cons, but I mean, there are some things I don't like about this. But the stuff that I did enjoy, like, heavily outweighed the stuff I would normally punish the issue with a lower grade.
Okay.
I loved all of the villain stuff towards the front. Oh, hang on. I may be thinking. No, I liked all the villain stuff. Like the owl and everything. I keep because there's two issues. I sometimes lose track of which one is what. But that was on this one, and I loved the villain banter at the beginning. I just like seeing all those old villains, and I'm excited about watching. I'm hoping that they don't just the culmination of this is not just them like there's one fight and they're all off to jail. I want this to last a while. This could actually last a while, and I would be happy because there's a lot of people in here that I really like. Okay. And I like that we're getting the Robbie and Tombstone stuff brought up again, and this time it's their kids, and they're creating some kind of cool Romeo and Juliet kind of a thing, which I think is very intriguing. I mean, I should hate this. This is clearly a filler issue. Mm-hmm. It's got Gog, and we don't have Ashley here, so the amount of puns drops by 60%. On Gog stuff. Which we miss you, Ashley. So there's a lot. There's just I like Gog being an Instagram thing. Oh my God, that's hysterical. That I think I keep coming back to how this felt for me a lot like an issue of Superior. In some way.
Superior Foes of Spider-Man, you mean?
Superior Foes of Spider-Man. And that's a good thing because I loved that. That was hysterically funny.
Okay.
So I like it's a filler, so we can kind of bring down all the high drama we've had for a little while and just kind of have a little fun, maybe. Boomerang's great in here, as he always is. But I love the whole Instagram thing. It's just it was a big charge for me. I just liked this issue. I mean, despite it being a filler, I really just liked it. I thought it was funny. I thought there was a lot going on in it. I enjoyed it.
Just to go back to how Gog came out of the quicksand, I pulled it up on Marvel Unlimited. Look at this. There's Gog's hand right there. He's getting pulled up by a helicopter, JR, from 1973. Well, there you go. There is how Gog came back.
Well.
Thank you, Venkman.
Gog resurrected.
Holy God, yeah. By the way, Power Packer says he's going to be an uncle, so congratulations, Power Packer. That's very nice. There you go.
Yeah. Better off somebody else having the kid besides you. Right?
Oh, give him his moment. Give him his moment. Mike, what was your grade? Because Kelly and I were tied. I think we were in the C range.
I gave this a B, mainly because it's not the greatest thing, but I am going to do something that I thought I would never do when it first came out. I'm going to defend the suit.
Oh God. Okay.
Because here's the thing. It's supposed to be ugly. It's supposed to be hideous.
I guess.
And the whole thing is designed because the thing is, like, we're all kind of wondering, like, why would he have this costume change? Well, guess what? This entire issue is basically Spencer basically poking fun at the idea of how a superhero has to change costumes all the time. And it ties into sort of a gimmick here with the idea of, like, because it fits with that basically that's a place like Threats and Menace would come up with this thing to say, it's like, hey, go put this thing on so we can get those views and clicks and everything. And, you know, and also the fact that he's pointing, you know, Spidey himself is pointing out, like, this is just basically Screwball's gimmick, but at the same time, it does kind of fit with what's going on here and everything like this. So yeah, so the idea, it's a costume thing, it's supposed to be stupid. Let me
ask you this, McNulty, since you're the one that brought this up. So do you think the scenario was Nick Lowe came to Nick Spencer and said, I almost called him Rob Lowe, that Nick Lowe came to Nick Spencer.
Maybe they're related.
and said, listen, we just got word we've got to change the suit for a few issues. We need a new Funko Pop figure or whatever. and like Lowe drops this on Spencer, and then Spencer's like, okay, fine. But if I do that, I'm going to make fun of it because I hate it.
Yeah. I think so.
You think that's what happened?
Yeah, I think this is because they realize, because they know because again, Spencer is very self-aware about all these different comic books, very much so. And so the idea of him, like, the same, like, because I mean, let's face it, they're acknowledging that the costume change is a gimmick in the issue itself, and the fact that, you know, it does look kind of like something that, you know, something more, it doesn't even look Spider-Man-ish at all, except for the eyes and stuff. So it is, it's very kind of gimmicky and flashy and photo, and try to be like, you know, oh, look, it's kind of the hip. And I mean, all they need now is is like some sponsorship logos like they had with, you know, back when
like on NASCAR,
like with Doc Ock with Suspirious Spider-Man, or with Johnny Storm in the first Fantastic Four movie had all those things on. If that's the kind of thing that this is, it's supposed to be designed to be like, oh yeah, you know, again, it's gimmicky, and plus the fact it's also the color scheme is also kind of like common, like, you know, like stuff that you would basically not hard on the eyes kind of thing. So again,
Hornacek in chat says, has anyone checked if My Pet Gog is an actual Instagram account?
I bet
and it is. It's right there.
Oh my God.
16 followers, no post yet. So I'm going to go follow it right now.
Exactly.
Everybody go follow it. Let's see if whoever snagged it.
Is this like StegronFans.net or something like this? Or, you know?
Sure.
I wonder if there's an Instagram Stegron. Let's check. This is dangerous to do on live on the air, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Why is it a Pikachu?
Why is it Pikachu smoking a cig? I don't get it.
I guess because after a lifetime of smoking, he turns into Stegron, maybe. I don't
know. Good grief.
Okay, well, there you go, Hornacek. Venkman, let me close this. Venkman, thank you for the super chat. I know J. Jonah Jameson, being a podcaster at Threats and Menaces, is more contemporary, but none of Jonah's other jobs have the same level of prestige and importance of being the editor and publisher of the Daily Bugle.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. I agree with that.
But again, their whole conceit here is because they're trying to say how, because, you know, newspapers have, like, you know, most, like, print is like pretty much withering on the vine, and everything's kind of going to a digital age kind of thing. So. And they're purposely trying to do that contrast here between Jonah and.
What's your opinion in the real world? Who is the equivalent of who J. Jonah Jameson is trying to be? Is it Rogan? Not Seth Rogen. Joe Rogan?
No, it's the guy who's it's the equivalent. He's trying to be like that guy who runs TMZ.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I got it.
Yeah. Doesn't quite fit though either. Like, that's the thing, is
right.
Part of it's weird.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird, like, it's like a combination of
Harvey Levin. Here you go. Harvey Levin.
That's right.
Harvey Levin. Yeah.
Okay. Kelly, let me pull this down. What's your pros? I'll give a couple pros too, but what's your pros?
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously Gog, and Gog having a, you know, cult following in the 616 as he does in real life. So, you know, the Church of Gog could actually be a thing in the comics one day.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I see. I like those parts, and that's really about it here. And it has nothing. I want to say, like, it has nothing to do with Spencer's writing at all. Like, I believe exactly what Mike was saying. it still doesn't mean that I feel like basically letting that slide and allowing Marvel to think that that's okay is okay.
Oh, I see.
So that's kind of my thing. So it's more like I'm happy about Gog and Fred being there and everything else, but the main part of the story, I have some.
Yeah,
it's a strong line that I'm not crossing on.
No, you got to stick with your principles. I get,
yeah.
We respect that.
So.
I don't know what I don't like about it. I really I said this last month with issue 60. I'm like, I guarantee you the next month they're not talking about Mephisto and Doctor Strange.
But we knew that was going to happen. We knew that there was going to. Yeah, I mean that's.
I mean,
you got to stretch it out.
Are we waiting 40 issues for that?
Mm-hmm.
Are we waiting 40 issues? I mean,
I think we are. I think we are actually.
Like when in the Spider-Man comics I read, and granted the Hobgoblin mystery went on for years, but I don't remember like a cliffhanger page like that without something being addressed the next issue. And
I bet that winds up getting followed up in another comic somewhere.
Like a Mephisto mini?
It's going to be like a tie-in, I bet.
Or like some Doctor Strange kind of thing,
Yeah, aren't they even going to end the whole Kingpin Boomerang thing in a special issue or something? I mean, it's not even going to be a regular issue of Amazing Spider-Man.
You're thinking of the Chameleon conspiracy because they have
well, they're also doing the Kingpin deal.
If it's a $10 issue, you guys are going to have to tell me about it. I hope it's cool. That's my principle. I'm not. Yeah.
By the way, this just in: GOG followers was up to 16. He's up to 21 now. Look at all the people.
Wow.
Thank you, Crawl Spacer. This guy.
That guy's going to wake up tomorrow and be like, what the hell?
What the hell?
I wonder if Spencer or somebody actually started that as a gag.
I was kind of thinking that myself.
I hope so, too. I hope like Marvel started it and they look at it and they say, how did we double our followers? What happened? And then they say, oh, look, it's all Crawl Space people. Wow.
Spencer, you're watching. You know
it wouldn't be a bad. I mean, I obviously I don't care for any of this GOG stuff whatsoever, but actually that would be an amusing idea for Marvel to do, to kind of play into that with the and do that. I think that would be a rather clever thing to do.
So JR, your cons, hit me up. You want your C? Wait a minute, yours was a B or a C?
I was a C. Yeah,
okay.
The art when I flipped through it the first time, I was amused by it. When I read it a second time, I guess the art really took it down a notch for me. I mean, the thing about supervillains, and this goes back to the fact that I don't like the look that they've given Norman lately either. They shouldn't look like normal people. I mean, they're garish Dick Tracy villains. I mean, that's why Batman's. I don't know. I don't do Instagram. I don't do Instagram, Twitter, or anything. So I can't be a follower of anything. But that's the fun about villains is how garish they look. And Batman's villains are all ugly and garish, and you know who they are by looking at them. And Hammerhead. Like the characters I just rattled off, Hammerhead, and well, the Owl's not really a Spider-Man villain, or really Madam Mask isn't either. But they have a distinctive look, and I don't get the the idea of normalizing them. And plus, they just look unfinished. I mean, again, I can't draw a straight line with a straight edge, so I am not a person who is in the best position of criticizing somebody's art. But I mean, it just looks unfinished.
I can kind of get JR from the standpoint of they don't look like villains. It's the reason I quit professional wrestling, watching my wrestling in the early 90s, because they went from all these colorful costumes and character gimmicks to everyone looks like they have stringy, greasy hair, like they just combed it with buttered toast, and like maybe they haven't bathed in a couple of days. I mean, literally every wrestler looked like that, and I was like,
they're all wearing NWO.
Do you put an A on wrestling, George?
On wrestling, yeah,
wrestlers. Okay,
yeah, because I think that's how Kirby would have said it, wrestling.
Here.
That's how my dad says it. By the way,
a lot of Kirby art was heavily influenced by the wrestlers back in the day.
The wrestlers. Okay.
So anyway, but yeah, I get where JR is talking about that, because that can completely take you out of it when the villains don't look like villains anymore. So it'd be like the Joker winding up in a movie and he looks like Adrian Brody without makeup. It's just him hanging out, like maybe wearing a fancy suit, and they just call him Joker, but he's not actually Joker. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's jarring. I get where JR's coming from. I feel JR's pain on that.
Let's hear some other cons. Kelly, what's someone you've had with this issue?
So my thing is the fact that, like, yes, the suit most definitely came from editorial saying, hey, we need another Funko Pop. Hey, we need another suit for the next video game, whatever it was. And the issue that I have with it is the fact that, like, yeah, Spencer probably, this is his smart answer to everything, and it could be amusing, but to me, I find it so against everything Peter stands for, and it is very Jonah, and it is very Threats
Nora
and Menaces and Nora Winters, but it's not Peter. And the fact that Peter's not even standing up for himself and even remotely thinking about it, which I understand money, but still that will always bug me on a level of, like, that's always going to take down anything a letter grade. And then add in the fact that, like, the jokes are bad. I know they're bad on purpose, but I don't have to be amused. I'm not amused that Marvel thinks that, like, because this is a gimmick that Marvel's going to think is okay and is going to keep doing, like they've been doing this, like when they restart everything. It's all for marketing, and I just really want to get back to a good story, because I feel like this even derailed this plot too. Like, I don't see where this is going to fit later. It is legitimately a, hey, we need a new suit for a little bit. So
I do agree with you somewhat that Peter should be way more suspicious about the suit, because I do think, because who do we know that is actually funding Threats and Menaces?
Yeah.
It's the Chameleon.
The Chameleon. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, because the first thing I saw when I saw the suit was, why didn't Peter goes, hey, where did this blog get the money to build and create this high-tech suit?
Speaking of the suit, like, if this was any other writer who I didn't know and have a history with being extremely funny from Superior Foes, and if this is any other writer than Nick Spencer, say, you know, the 3 times it may have happened under Slott, I think. And I hated it then. I don't crucify this the way I would have a Slott issue with a suit change, because it's actually well written, and a well written comic will actually make me. And I've talked about this before. Like, if the comic is well written, I'll overlook things that I normally would have hammered. So, you know,
a couple things. Peter Parker's ethical journalistic ethics is very skewed. Anyway, he's been taking pictures of himself. He's been selling selfies essentially under false pretense.
He published a book of it.
He did. Well, yeah. So I kind of see how Peter would put on the suit, because of A, he needs money. And B, he's done unethical journalistic things before.
And technically, he's getting 2 paychecks out of this.
Money issues.
I didn't think of
that. And how is that going to work?
Money issues been a thing with Spider-Man since Amazing Fantasy 15.
Yeah, how does Spider-Man cash a check? He can't cash a check. So how?
I'm just saying, him being concerned for money is that's
exactly.
Now that Jonah, Jonah knows who Peter is, Jonah can work it to where that doesn't become a problem.
What were you saying, Kelly?
I agree with Kelly, though, in a way, kind of like I was saying. It seems Peter agrees to it too soon. Not that he would not eventually do something like this, but it just happens a little bit too quickly.
I think the thing that flips it there is Jonah being part of it, and him knowing, like, when Jonah's talking about, no, I'm totally here to protect anything Spider-Man doesn't want to see. I think that he actually trusts Jonah on that, given their recent history. And the fact that Jonah knows that he's Spider-Man, for example. If you take Jonah out of the equation, out of that scene, I think he tells Nora to go pound sand.
Well, I'd hope so. It's more of just, like I said, it's less about in story, and it's more about, we know where this is coming from. And I really wish somebody would have stood up for the character and stood up for the story a little bit more. We, of course, don't know. For all we know, this was literally write this or leave. But I don't feel like that's exactly what happened. So,
but the whole needing money thing and being more open to things because he does need money. First time he went to go try to join the Fantastic Four, needed money. First time he went to go join the Avengers to be a reserve Avenger, needed money.
Yep.
Plus,
Found out they got paid $1,000 a week, and he's like, I'm down for that. Yeah, let's do that.
I like what Hornacek says. Peter faked pictures of him fighting Sandman back in ASM 4. He threw sand up in the air and was diving through it for a paycheck. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, this is not the first time that Peter has taken, as Spider-Man has taken lame endorsements, because that's what the Spider-Mobile was.
Yes.
Yep. But no, I get your point, Kelly.
I agree with it.
The Avengers were getting paid $1,000 a week, but Sam
Back in the
Wilson,
mid-'80s.
yeah,
back
but
in the
Sam Wilson
mid-'80s.
wasn't getting paid any money at all for anything he does, and he can't get a bank loan in winter. The
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Soldier Part 1.
I'm sorry. It was just the ham-fisted. It reminded me of a certain amount of
So,
ham-fistedness.
I guess my main cons are there's nothing, even a sentence devoted to the cliffhanger of the previous issue.
Well, okay, Peter doesn't know anything about that, though.
It doesn't have to have
Well,
Peter.
we,
I
the
just
reader-
want to
well,
see
we,
what
the
Doctor
readers.
Strange and Mephisto,
Yeah.
something addressed as a reader. The suit is lame. We know it's lame. It looks lame. Maybe
Spencer knows it's lame.
Spencer knows it's lame, but why should I care? I mean, it's almost, it's like the costume is a C. It's not so good that it's awesome, and it's not so bad that it's awful.
No, it's bad.
It's an average costume that's very forgettable, and again, it's forgettable. So, and also the emphasis. Kingpin and all the bad guys are after Fred. It's not the Amazing Fred. It's the Amazing Spider-Man. And again, Spider-Man is not the focus of this story. Fred and Gog are.
Well, Kingpin acknowledges Spider-Man being part of the story in here.
I know, but it's just, it isn't rubbing me the right way.
It's part of Spider-Man's story. And Brad, first of all, I mean, the thing with Boomer, Spider-Man's been drawn into stories before that didn't involve him because his friends were involved in them. That's a thing that's all been throughout Spider-Man's history.
I would agree.
So that's consistent with the character.
It just didn't. It didn't make me go above a C. I mean, I've read a lot worse issues. It just isn't blowing my socks off.
No, it's refreshing for me because normally I always assume you're going to give everything a B. In fact, I was joking with somebody just this week, and I said, my friend Brad that I love dearly, I swear to one day he's going to shuffle loose the mortal coil. Hopefully he's an old man surrounded by grandchildren, and when they put him in the ground, on his headstone will be, I'll give it a B.
No, I like the headstone that says, I told you I was sick. I like that one.
My favorite tombstone is in the Boot Hill Cemetery.
Yeah.
Up in Tombstone, which says he was right and we was wrong, but we hung him and now he's gone.
Oh,
I
there's several funny tombstone. There's
here lies my wife. She's at peace, and so am I.
Here lies Lester Moore, 2 slugs from a 44, no less, no more. That was an actual
Hornacek says mine should be, I like the cover. Yeah. Okay. Any other comments on this one before we move on? Are we good?
Yeah, I think we've said everything that we want to
agree.
say. I feel bad that Ashley wasn't here to talk about GOG.
Yeah, I am too.
I feel like those are Ashley's favorite episodes.
Yes, I know.
That center on GOG.
I know.
Yeah, but she's using that new mother, worn out, having this baby thing. You know, how long is she going to play on that? You know,
responsible parenting is such a cop out, right, JR?
Kelly, what were you going to say? You're saying something.
I was going to say, so for Ashley, there is another con that I should bring up. Not enough GOG.
Oh, don't worry, we'll get that next. It makes up the next issue. Makes more.
I'm good. Okay. So, Mike, you've got the next issue.
Yes.
Usually, I go to Comixology to give you a preview, but we're working with Marvel now, and the previews are now on the crawl space.
Yeah,
look at this! Yay!
It feels like Steve Martin in The Jerk, you know, and he's got that drink, and he's like, "Be somebody." And then he holds up the magazine ad that he got.
We are somebody.
He's got the little paper umbrella in there, and he's just so happy.
Yeah, nice. It's been forever since you. I know you've been trying to get this for
Long time.
years. Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah.
So congrats, by the way.
You finally had to get crafty with it.
I
Mhm.
did. I won't
Kinda
tell you how I
escalated,
did it,
yeah,
but I did
yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right. So as seen on the crawl space, here we go. Here's a preview.
It's yes, issue 62, or as it really is, it's 863.
Correct.
And it's kind of like semi. So when we open this issue up, we basically see Kingpin looking like he did John Rice Howard, John Rice. What is that guy? The guy who
John
played
Rice
the Dingo.
Davies.
John Rice Davies. Thank you. Wearing this looks. No, wait, those aren't sunglasses. Those are just shadows.
It does look like that from the Incredible Hulk, the trial of the Incredible
The
Hulk.
Trial of the Incredible Hulk.
With
Right.
Daredevil in a black suit. Oh my gosh, that's so right.
Yeah, I mean, just the way that the inking in there, it's just like that's a little bit off. But anyway, we get the first couple pages where basically Kingpin is talking to somebody, and we splice that with Boomerang, with Spider-Man. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta hurry!" And we got Boomerang is basically about to be arrested by the cops, and it's like all basically spliced back and forth.
I love that panel
And-
right there. Right there.
Oh yeah.
Right at the
Yep.
top. Look how excited he is about Playdate.
Oh yeah, he's like, hey, yeah. He's like, hey, we get a play date, but the cops show up to ruin all of his fun because with having getting some game, and so God,
Fred,
of course,
the girl looks underage, though. I mean, is Fred into little girls?
well,
I
he's
don't-
also
I
a
don't think so,
chubby
Larry.
chaser apparently too with that with the woman with the.
Listen,
with the
McNulty,
blue-
the heart wants what the heart wants.
That is true. That is
All right,
true.
we're not here to body shame on the crawl space.
That is
It's true.
That is true.
And also, more than likely, these girls are just Instagram followers of GOG. So
That's
he,
true. Yep.
He doesn't really say anything that's like outright scandalous to these girls either.
No.
Yeah.
So I think it's just,
Yeah.
mild flirtation, not maybe realizing she's like 17.
Honestly, the whole smile on his face about the play date could be him thinking about the Instagram hits too.
Yeah, plus
In
it's
fairness to Fred.
it's like, hey, I got fans and followers. It's like cool. And well, Gog is like, he's of course is like, threatening. And then we see Bullseye. He's about to hit Gog. Is he going to shoot him? No. Instead, he shoots Gog's collar. Now, for those of you who don't realize this, but the collar is what makes Gog nice, small, and cuddly. Well, now, but after he takes the collar on, he turns into King Kong because and it starts stomping around through the city, and Spider-Man's like, oh my gosh, I gotta he realizes what happened, so he tries to grab, tries to stop Gog, and then Boomerang, in his first of one of copyright infringement lines that he does throughout this issue, decides, hey, don't worry, Spider-Man, I'll give you the fastball special, and takes his two boomerangs and the collar, like does his whole world, throws it to Spider-Man, and this is kind of cool. He catches it in midair, does his little MacGyver act while he's catching it to make it big, so then he can then slip the collar onto Gog as he's climbing up on the building, and as he catches Gog after he shrinks and he falls, and then Spider-Man just basically quietly reminisces like, I should have been more responsible in raising Gog. I mean, this is a basic thing, taking care of a pet or taking care of a child, and I haven't really been doing a good team term lately. Maybe I should do better. And then smack, he hits a car, which basically breaks his fall. And basically, yay, day is saved. Sort of.
And little Gog looks so happy.
He does.
Spider-Man, he just look at it, it's so heartwarming.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and Boomerang's like, oh my gosh, Spider-Man's my hero, because they. So we then cut to basically Randy Robertson having dinner with his dad, Robbie Robertson, and I guess Randy's probably kind of explaining to his dad about the new girl in his life, who of course still hasn't told who she actually is. Shame, shame, shame. And Robbie's like, laughing. He's like, oh, she slashed the car of your tires. Oh, she sounds like a fiery one. And I know how you were all into those fiery ladies, like Glory and Nora and everything like this. It's like, but you know what, son? She sounds like a keeper. I think you ought to give her another chance and make it up to her. Because she sounds like this person's right for you and everything like this.
I mean, if I'd have said no to a girl with a criminal past, I would have never married your mom. Sure, she sold a little crack on the side, but times are tough.
Yeah, exactly, right. Yeah,
do
sure.
to survive, son.
Sure, she sounds like a psycho, but hey,
Hey, you know, it's a Marvel universe, kid. You gotta find them where you can get them. You know.
right? Yeah,
Hey, Captain America dated Diamondback for a while. It's all good, son.
yeah. So as he's explaining this, here comes Jonah coming in. He's like, "Hey, it's my pal Robbie." He says, "Hey, what's up? How?" He's like, he's kind of and Jonah's kind of trying to be all hip and with the lingo. Like he says, "Hey, the threats and menaces, it's doing all great. It's getting all the what do they call them? The views and clicks and all that, all that stuff and everything."
What do you call them on the internet? The views, the clicks.
What is it they said in Cobra Kai? Hash brown and send it to the internet or something like that.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, we're getting all them likes and notification bells and all that other stuff, and it's like and he says, hey, and he sees Randy, he says, hey, maybe I hear Randy, hey, maybe you can come work for us, and then he goes and then he says to Rob, he says, hey, I heard that the Bugle's not doing so well compared to us. Because yours is kind of an old rag, but hey, maybe we can put some ad space. Is that what they call it? Ad space? We can put ad space on there, and on our menses.
I can see like Fred starting a YouTube for GOG videos now, and starting every one of them. Then hey, don't forget to hit like or don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button.
Yeah, and the notification bell.
Yeah.
But as Jonah's trying to explain this, and Robbie, of course, is just not interested. He's just like, look, Jonah, there's a real difference between you and me. He says, first of all, I'm a journalist, a professional journalist, and you're just a muckraker. And yeah. And then Joe's like, oh, I see how it is. You're just jealous of my success. Well, fine. I don't need you. I'm almost successful on my own. I'm gonna, I'm gonna keep proving it and everything. And then she goes on this big rant, and then of course Randy makes Bobby's points. Wow, this guy has not changed at all. Which is why we love Jonah, because he doesn't change. He's still going to be the nice, hypocritical, skinflint guy that he always is. And yep. And then we go back to, I believe, I'm trying to remember the page order here. Is this we go to Kingpin, right?
No, you got Mary Jane in the weird pants.
Yes,
there you go.
I did not want to upset Chi-Town. Because with forgetting about this Mary Jane scene. So Fred, of course, he's all crying. He's got his pet toys, and this is where we get the second of his copyright infringement statement. He says, "Oh, don't feed him after midnight." I was actually thinking, I forgot that he actually made that thing, because I was going to be a whole joke about how he's like, telling of all the rules. It's like, oh, he actually did make the Gremlins reference. But and so Mary Jane's like, oh, is he so cute and cuddly and everything like this? And then Spider-Man says, hey, Mary Jane, mutual friend of Peter Parker and everything else. Could you make sure you can take care of Gog as we go try to track down, all this stuff and stuff? And she's, oh, sure, Spider-Man, blah, blah, blah. And she's like all petted in, and Gog loves her.
She looks so happy with the baby, like she would be a good mom or something.
Yeah, right?
They should probably address that at some point.
By the way, when I looked at her shirt, I thought that was like Overdrive. I thought of Overdrive.
Yeah, I don't know if that's. I think that it's almost like an Evel Knievel. Is that like an Evel Knievel shirt? Almost.
No.
I don't know.
I think it's just generic, because like she's wearing literally something straight out of like Forever 21 with like embroidered jeans and
right.
Very odd.
top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but pretty good, nice pose and everything like this. And so then after they leave her and everything, he says, okay, we got to track down. And Boomerang's like, he's like, oh, he's all mad. He's mad. He's going to get revenge. He says, criminals are a superstitious, cowardly lot. So I must wear a disguise that might strike terror into their very hearts. I must be a creature of the night, black, terrible, like a boomerang. And cue Spidey face palming hard along with everybody else. This makes another copyright infringement thing. And
you're missing the Ascot reference. We had an Ascot.
Oh
reference.
yes.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. He says, Kingpin has a cool ascot. I was like, that literally cracked me up. That
was pretty good.
Yeah. So Spidey's like, oh man. So then we come back to the fashionable ascot wearing Kingpin standing in front of Kindred, and he says, haha. And he says, well, look at you. And Kingpin's like, well, look at you now, Kindred. He says, you forced me to bow and scrape before you when I couldn't wait because when you promised you could bring back Vanessa. But now the tables have turned, and now you're never ever 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 going to get out of here, even though you are. Which, by the way, it also raises up the interesting question, like why wouldn't he? Because it brings up later in this issue about how Kindred wanted to have Kindred. Peter Parker's off limits. So why would Kingpin still honor that agreement? Who knows? But anyways, because the reason why I bring that up is because Tombstone is on his way to go.
Real quick, before you proceed, there's a picture here, and I don't know if it was Mark or Chi-Town's review that wondered who these people are. Is that Vanessa and Richard? Who are these two right here?
Yes, that's supposed to be Vanessa and Richard, I believe.
Yeah.
I
just couldn't tell. That looks like, I think it looks like Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, no. See the skulls? See the skulls there? That's supposed to be your flashback when he goes to the catacombs and finds Kindred there, which we still don't explain why would in Europe.
We don't know who these two are, though?
I think those were the two guys that Kindred killed. I don't know. We never really got a good story about
I couldn't make it out. I didn't get it.
Yeah, but but in any case, so speaking of, when Kingpin's sold Tombstone, as we remember last time, he says Tombstone's off to basically he's going to try to punish Boomer. He says, Kingpin said Peter Parker was off limits, but he didn't say anything about Randy Robertson, who just so happens to be my good old pal's son. Ooh, this is like, and so he's thinking he's getting a twofer. Yeah. And so he's going off to their apartment. And while this is going on, Glory Grant goes up to Robbie and says, "Hey, Robbie, you know how you were basically asking me to look into Janice Link and everything like this and everything? Well, I can't really find anything on her except indecent exposure. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge."
This is like Glory impersonating Wilford Brimley from The Firm. Not just screwing neither. Robbie. Intimate acts, oral and whatnot.
Oral and whatnot. Oh my
oral
God.
And whatnot.
Oh, when Wilford Brimley said that was like gave me diabetes. I mean,
that was a really good part of that movie. My friends and I, we kept saying that all year long.
Right.
Intimate acts, oral and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
R.I.P. Wilford Brimley.
Yeah. So Robbie Robertson, respectable journalist that he is, decides, ooh, scandalous photos that we can publish on page 6. Gimme. And of course,
journalism.
Like, journalism. No, I'm a man of integrity, right?
Yeah, let's get these smut pictures on the front page.
And so, as he's slowly getting these pictures out, we see Tombstone climbing up the fire escape and acting all like a creeper, like picking over the rim of the rooftop, like as Neil would describe it, like a gopher. And he
looks like Billy Idol in the Dancing with Myself video, except without the chicks.
Mm-hmm.
Or he's like Kane peeping throughout the clone saga.
Yeah, and as Robbie pulls out the photo, and as Tombstone peeks over the thing, they go, "Oh my God!"
Well, Robbie says "son," and in my mind, I heard it like Jerry Reed.
Yeah.
I said son.
I said son.
And then Kingpin's like daughter, and of course we see Randy,
Romeo and Juliet.
Janice, doing their little Romeo and Juliet kissing thing, which I must admit was far more PG than I actually first pictured. Because I knew this was coming. I think we all did.
What, you think they were going to be naked on the roof? What, Mike?
Well, I did, and then I realized, oh wait, this is a family-oriented comic. So
okay.
It's too early. I mean, the indecency, the intimate acts, oral and whatnot. Typically start with kissing.
Because again, Glory, who remember was Randy's former ex-fiance, was like, hey, there's some intimate, indecent exposure thing in there.
Was Robbie engaged to?
I think he was.
Glory Grant.
At one time, remember back in like the early aughts, they had Randy and Glory were dating.
I know they dated, but I don't know.
I don't know if they got engaged or not.
Let's go to the Yoda.
I don't recall them being engaged, but I remember they were dating when didn't they walk in on Peter during the Paul Jenkins run was when Peter was eating ice cream in the shower and
he was naked.
singing.
Yeah.
I thought they were dating.
trying to set, and they kept trying to set him up with what's his face, Gwen Stacy, Jill Stacy,
Jill Stacy. Oh, Gloria and okay, I remember
they were kind of
back with Kevin in the fridge and.
Of course, I remember Randy's first wife, who nobody talks about anymore.
They don't.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah, Randy's a divorcee, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Mike. Any other thoughts on that one before you give a grade?
I'm going to conclude by giving this issue a B+, actually, mainly because of that nice little cliffhanger we got.
Okay, George, grade?
A-.
Kelly?
B.
JR?
Let's see.
I'm hovering between a C and a B-, mainly because the Jonah and Randy and Robbie scene was so darn fun. It didn't have much to do. Well, it's Spider-Man supporting cast. What the hell? C+. The rest I didn't really care for.
It's GOG, isn't it? It's all that GOG stuff.
I guess it is GOG, man. I just don't get it. Okay, Mike, give me some pros. By the way, before we go there, I want to thank Vinkman. He has a thing about the Webs thing. He says Peter didn't self-publish that Webs book. It was published without Peter's permission because all of the photos are owned by the Bugles. I also thank you for the super chat, Vinkman.
Yeah, but he still got paid for it.
He got paid. I like what you said, Mike. I didn't think when I read it, Peter's getting paid twice. He's cashing the Spider-Man check. He's cashing the Peter Parker check.
Yep.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay, so, go ahead, Mike. Your pros.
Okay, so pros. I like the banter in this. I mean, if anything, and here's the thing: you can tell that Nick Spencer loves writing about Fred, because every time he gets Fred on there, I mean, he just really shines, especially that part where he keeps, even though, it's like a, kind of a gimmick where he keeps quoting like different stuff from pop culture and everything, and copyright infringement stuff and everything like this. And everyone's like, and he makes it, and it's just the way he just comes across this page and everything. I mean, it's like it's definitely one of these good things where you kind of wish that he still kind of wrote Superior Foes or made a Boomerang kind of comic series that, so you can get more, because he clearly loves writing it in this issue. And I do like how we're finally getting, as I think George, as I think it was mentioned in the last issue, how we're finally getting this whole subplot about the Romeo and Juliet romance between Randy and Janice, because we knew that scene was coming about at the end where both Tombstone and Robbie were going to find out. And and it's, even though it's kind of predictable how it's going to happen, it was set up really well about how it was simultaneously, the simultaneous reveal of the two of them and everything, how it's, so I did appreciate the fact that they were, and again, even though it's kind of a small side plot thing, the Jonah's interaction, how he was responding, like, oh, I'm in the big leagues now with this, and it's a with his website thing, and kind of, again, it's the nice little, And so mainly as a strong thing, it's just the character interactions in here all around. I think it's the strongest selling point. So,
who else had a high grade? I don't think it was.
That would be that guy up there. Yeah.
Kelly, let me hear your pros. What'd you have?
My pros.
What'd you like? Yeah.
I mean, I like GOG. I think biggest pro on here, because the art is a little iffy for me, which is one of the reasons why I'm giving it a B instead of like a B+, is I like the full page where Peter's kind of realizing, man, why didn't I get a pet? Like, I like taking care of things. I like being responsible for something. And of course, GOG is being held like a baby. And then a page or two later, we see Mary Jane, playing GOG like he's a baby. And those are, I know what they're doing here. And so I really appreciate those scenes, because we're getting to a larger part of this. So I'm glad that it's not, I'm glad that part of their history is not being swept under the rug, but I like that GOG is the by proxy baby.
Right.
It's my biggest pro.
So you think that Spencer is writing the two that they could be good parents by being the parents of a pet? Is that what he's doing?
That's how you practice, Brad. I mean, you got to, that's how you look. Yeah. I mean, you get a pet first, and then, that's.
I guess there is a truth to being responsible for a pet. I guess that is a part of the responsibility definition, which is
Right.
all Spider-Man's thing.
Mhm.
I just don't like it. And Mary, I don't know how Mary and Chad. I don't know how I'm going to get to be a follower of GOG. I don't know why I don't like him. I think it's because I had such a bad.
You are a follower of GOG. You went to Instagram and hit follow. You are part of the GOG church now, Brad. You are literally a follower of GOG.
I think the reason I don't like it so much is because I really don't like that Roy Thomas story from years ago.
Yeah, but
I think that's my problem
Mhm.
of many.
No,
So Mary,
that's okay. I just like the fact that GOG is the GOG is a baby here.
Oh yeah, very much so. It's like a chimpanzee. It's sort of almost a little bit. Hence the more King Kong reference when he becomes all super big and everything, which was kind of weird by because I don't know sort of explain when he becomes big like that, why he becomes like more aggressive as opposed to when he's small, he's like more cuddly or something. But it's it's kind of But oh well. Yeah.
well, other George pros.
Before I cover my pros, there's an ongoing debate in chat right now
Okay.
about whether or not Bullseye missed or hit the collar on purpose. They're like, I don't know how Bullseye misses this shot. And I said this earlier. He wasn't trying to kill GOG. He was trying to make him freak out.
And make
Right.
him big.
Yeah.
He was trying to kill that collar.
Yeah,
That's why he shot the
Bullseye-
collar off. Yeah.
Bullseye never misses except Daredevil, except when he's
Right.
fighting Daredevil. That's the only
Right.
thing. Yeah.
So yeah, the whole plan was to have GOG go berserk and possibly kill Boomerang and Spider-Man, or
Yep.
or just make a big scene and bring heat down on Boomerang.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the plan. That's why he missed, and that he didn't miss. He got exactly what he was.
Hence
aiming.
why the cops were also there just conveniently to go there. So they know that he would be that they would have an excuse to be like, oh, now we get to really try to arrest Fred because he's got a dangerous alien monster on loose.
Yeah, that was the whole plan. Knock the collar off, make him go full donkey Gog.
Donkey
Yeah.
Kong.
Yeah.
Donkey Gog.
Donkey Kong.
So
Look,
so-
you're doing them now too, George.
well, someone's got to make up for Ashley not being here, and no one can fill her shoes when it comes to GOG punch. No one, literally no one can fill Ashley's shoes when it comes to GOG punch.
That's her mutant power.
It is her mutant power. All right. So let me get to my pros.
Okay.
Number one, I again, this was just a big fun issue. I liked the GOG fight at the start. I liked how Boomerang and Spidey got him to turn back into cute little GOG. I loved the Randy and Robbie and Jonah stuff, and I loved the Romeo and Juliet stuff, and Mary Jane acting like a mom playing with baby GOG on the floor. Again,
with the weird outfit, yeah.
Again, I would, you should probably further expound on that, Marvel. But a really good part, and this made me howl laughing, was when Spider-Man and Boomerang are talking, and McNulty kind of glossed over this.
Yeah, because I don't want to ruin the
because
they're read it than rather than
they're talking. I'm going to assume everybody that's listening or watching has read it already, because I'm going to bring this up.
Yeah.
So Boomerang he's got like his Batman scowl, kind of like McNulty was kind of describing.
Yeah.
And he was like, this is all my fault. Fisk only went after GOG because of me. I'm trying to do the right thing and stop the Kingpin. But it seems like the more I try to help, the more people around me suffer. I'm sorry, Spidey. I'm sure you can't relate. I died laughing. And just a blank look on Spider-Man's face.
I guess I looked over that. That's pretty good.
Oh my God. Yeah. And then he flies off the handle to go get the man with the ascot.
Oh yeah, that whole scene was hysterical. When I was reading that whole scene, like everything.
Oh my
that was
God.
pretty good.
That was,
Yeah.
I loved that. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like this. I enjoy how much of Glory we're seeing in the issue.
Oh yeah, I love Glory.
Because I love Glory. I can never get enough Glory.
Right.
And I loved her
What is
role
her
in this.
role at the paper though? She isn't like a secretary.
Wilford Brimley. Duh. She's digging up smut on people. Like
She's
dirt.
basically taking over Betty Brandt's position. It's almost like she's also kind of like a researcher.
Is
now.
she researcher reporter? Is that what her job is?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think because but yeah, and also the thing I didn't quite get this before, but she totally knows what those photos are.
I mean, she tells him they're indecent. She had to have seen them. She had to see
I know.
her old boyfriend getting it on with this new chick.
Yeah, but giving the pictures to the dad though, that's got to be odd.
I think there's part of Glory that probably got a kick out of it and thought it was kind of funny.
It's like, yes, I get revenge against
Here's my ex.
Basically, yeah.
Let's put it on the front page, even though it's his son.
So I enjoyed her being Wilford Brimley here. I thought it was an interesting turn, and I'm really curious to see where it all goes. I just really enjoyed it. It was a really, really fun issue. Even for filler issues, these last couple of I really liked them.
This is the second time you've called them filler. Why do you consider them filler?
Because they're not main story, Kindred, Mephisto, Doctor Strange stuff. They're all the ancillary subplots that are happening that we're following. Typically, this is this kind of stuff that would have been done in the second book. Back in the old days when we had Amazing and Spectacular. This is the kind of thing that would be handled in Spectacular. Literally, Robbie and Tombstone were handled in Spectacular.
That's right.
So
it's kind of like
is
the next main story is going to be Chameleon Conspiracy. So we're kind of treading water until that.
But I guess you're accurate in that I shouldn't call them filler issues because they are dealing. They're not just random things happening on the side. They're still dealing with subplots are going. So I am in error for calling them filler issues. You're correct.
in Amazing Spider-Man years ago, there used to be an A story and there used to be a B story. The B story had little speckles of parts that would lead up to a bigger story.
And this one we got two B stories that are kind of like peanut butter, that are kind of coming together and making something even better.
Hornacek says, "I want an issue where Robbie, Tombstone, Janice, and Randy are sitting around the table having a family dinner together." What would that topic of conversation?
I want Janice to get pregnant.
Oh!
I want Janice and I want them to be expecting a baby and then see how Robbie and Tombstone have to handle that.
Man,
I think George is calling it now. I think that could happen. Then that would entwine.
Oh, I would love that. Oh my
God.
God.
Entwine the Robertsons and the Tombstones forever.
Oh yeah. Very much.
Robbie and Tombstone saying, "Okay, now who was going to buy the stroller for the kids, and who was going to buy the crib?" All right,
and then they're always arguing about the kid's future. And then, like some weekends, like the kid goes off to stay with Grandpa Robbie, and
it's like Meet the Fockers, only with Tombstone.
And he learns the news business. And then some weekends he goes off with Grandpa Lonnie and learns crime. Like maybe he starts him off breaking into cars or running a con or like a dice game, something like that.
Here's the thing, though: if that actually would happen with Janice getting pregnant with Randy's kid, would basically Tombstone decide, oh, we're going to have a shotgun mafioso wedding?
Yeah,
that'd be a cool story, though, man. I'd like that.
Oh, it would, yeah.
Thank you to Josh for the super chat. He wants to know our favorite and least favorite Nick Spencer story so far.
Ooh, favorite one. I'm trying to think.
Least favorite's 2099.
Yeah. Favorite one so far, I think, is probably, I would have to say probably maybe, it's definitely within the first couple 12 issues, I think, when it first started, I think, for me. Because that's when you really started to get kind of Spencer, you get a feel for his stuff and everything like that. And, but yeah, I'd have to say I'd have to say probably maybe I agree with the 2099 stuff, although that Craven one was kind of a close second because it was really kind of starting to stall a lot. That's where we started getting those mega arc things. But that's be my pick. Yeah.
Anybody else? What's everybody's least favorite? Let's go around the horn. So we got two 2099s on the table.
That thing, was it with Craven?
Yeah.
The thing with Craven.
Last Rites?
Or Last Hunt, or First Hunt, or whatever.
I wasn't a fan of that. My favorite one, I think, would be Spencer's first issue where he fixed 85% of the stuff that Slott had screwed up over a decade.
Yeah.
And and then the last month, the one where I gave the A++++.
Oh yes. ASM 60. Yes, that was great.
Yeah.
That was a really good one.
So I would, and the ones with the Sinister Syndicate, with all of the all females, and I thought that was really good. I thought that was really, really well done.
Kelly, how about you?
I agree with everything George said. I don't like Craven's my least favorite, and I think the Kindred story as a whole is going to wind up being my favorite thing Nick Spencer has ever written once it's complete, but it's not complete yet. So I'm kind of I have to give it to him so far, but I don't.
Yeah,
yeah.
he could totally fumble the ending. He totally could fumble it.
And you know what? I was thinking since the last podcast we did, because even in the last podcast when we had that Doctor Strange Mephisto payoff that all of us made O faces over, even then when we were talking about that, we even brought up the fact that like it's not going to be addressed anytime soon.
And we were right.
And I mean, we knew it already. It's not
we did.
We shouldn't be shocked that we were correct. We already knew that.
Correct.
But I was thinking about it since the last podcast, since the last podcast, and I was thinking,
February,
is this a bad thing? Because I enjoy Nick Spencer writing Spider-Man, period. And if the end result of editorial making him stretch it out like they do in the news biz, Brad, right?
Fill 30 minutes.
Where they do stretch like this. I think this is the floor sign, right?
Yeah.
Stretch.
And then this is wrap it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So editorial's doing this continually. And the stories do suffer a little bit for it, but at the same time, if that's what it takes to extend Spencer's run on ASM, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aside from the $10 issues.
and wrapping up a plot in the non-amazing book for $10. Yes, that's.
I would rather. Here's the thing. There's so many unknowns on writers that could step in to take over for Spencer that I would if this is what it takes to have Spencer write this for another couple of years or however long, I'm good with it. I'm down. Yeah. I've changed my mind.
JR, you're the last one. Favorite and least favorite.
Well, I've never, as far as least favorite, I think I have to think this story with Craven and the Central Park thing, because that was the one where I just I think I stopped even reading them or even I think maybe didn't show up in the podcast a time or two because it's like I'm just going to say the same thing because I hate this story. So that's probably that one. I've never really been jazzed. I don't know if I've given any of his issues an A, frankly, but I do have a lot of fun reading his Norman issues. I just have a lot of fun doing those. I mean, even though the stories are kind of problematic and things, I think he knows. I think for the most part, other than some miscues about drinking the Goblin formula aside, I think he understands the Osborn family dynamic and. What if
that's the evolution, though, JR? What if edibles are the future of the Osborn formula?
Eat your goblin gummies.
Well, it
CBD, Oscorp CBD oil.
In a strange kind of way, it was in Zdarsky's parallel universe, wasn't it? Remember?
Yeah, it was an energy drink.
Yeah.
It was
instead of Fred and Barney, you got Harry and Norman gummies that you can take at night. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Josh.
Hang on, let me ask JR something real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, JR, because I always remember us going back to the first time when we found out that Spencer was coming on, and then Spencer had that first issue, and I famously looked at you and said, JR, take my Kirby hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And let's give this a shot, brother. So that was what 3 years ago now.
Yeah, at least, yeah.
So are you at least happier that the stories, even if you don't like them, even if they don't, inject you full of joy, like a COVID shot, even if they're not doing that, even if they're not doing that, are you at least happy that the issues are well written?
Here's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to quite say that, but
he's hard getting out of the start, isn't he? With the answer,
but but the fact that I will say this, the fact that I can read these and not be personally offended, is a big step forward because you're not. I mean, you're going to see miscues here and there, and like I said, some of Spencer's miscues, I'm a little surprised at because I think he knows. I think he knows Spider-Man and knows his history and stuff. But you don't read something and you just go, "What the f is this?" Where you see characters completely distorted to get to a particular plot device or and I don't see the ham-fisted stuff either where the virtue signaling and the so the fact that Spencer, there's no debate that the Spider-Man titles are greatly improved under Spencer.
Yeah. I think, and I always talk about how Slott, it was very evident to all of us on the podcast for years and for all the bad years back in the battle day, back in the dark times, as Hagrid would call them. it was obvious to us that Slott, despite all the knowledge of Spider history, despite all the hoopla around how much he knew and yada yada, didn't know very fundamental facts about this character.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't understand the character.
He couldn't write relationships worth the crap.
No.
Well, I don't think he cared.
Female
See, that's the
characters, I
thing.
don't think very well.
I think JR's correct. I think that's part of why Paul Jenkins wrote it very well, because like Jenkins is someone who understands relationships very, very well.
Yeah.
And so does Spencer. Spencer understands them. Matt Fraction is another writer, understands relationships very well.
Agree.
And that was something Slott that just totally escaped Slott. So here we have somebody who understands how important Mary Jane and that relationship is, and can write it, and write it the best it's been written since JMS.
Real quick, you said Mary Jane. I want to make this point before I forget who wrote it in chat. Someone said in chat that Mary Jane looks like Christy. And it's this panel right here. She looks really young there, doesn't she?
It's the ponytail too, because Christy always had the ponytail.
Oh yeah.
But see, this is why I don't like when they draw freckles on Mary Jane, because Christy had freckles.
Oh yeah.
Mary Jane never did until after Christy.
I think J. Scott Campbell gave her freckles first, right?
She did. Yeah.
I think don't all natural redheads though have freckles in that?
I think most of them do.
I think they
they're usually fair complected.
They usually they're usually able to like.
But
cover it up
I agree with
usually.
Kelly. Christy had the freckles, definitely, not Mary Jane.
She does look a little bit crispy, but at the same time, most of the newer readers that are like reading Spencer's Run, they don't know who Christy is.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is actually getting into, I don't know if we're gone into cons yet or something about this.
I think we're done with pros. Has everybody given their pros?
No, actually, I haven't.
Okay, JR, give her pros.
Pros.
I was just well, actually, it's funny because you guys are probably going to con the hell out of this one, but I was just about to jump in because I agree she looks a little too young, and I agree she looks a little off. But I actually liked that Mary Jane because I like the girl next door look. She has just with the bright green eyes and the freckly face, because so much, too much effort was, over the years has made her, and it's not so much that one, but the one with the close up of her face. That one. Yeah. Even though she looks a little too young or whatever. I do like the freckles, and like I said, the green eyes. I like her looking more like the girl next door rather than the supermodel or the sex toy. Yeah, the supermodel that for whatever reason Howard Mackey decided to make her again, and then the sex toy that Todd McFarlane and Eric Larson turned
Eric
her
Larson really made her a sex toy.
During
I just like this. She's beautiful. She's beautiful, but she's not, a plastic supermodel beautiful. She's the girl next door. And I really thought that, whatever else might be kind of funky or off, that kind of came through. So I did like that. But that was my primary probe. I had.
Did that warm your heart, JR?
Well, no, that's pretty well. That's a lost cause. That
your
pretty
cold
well
black heart, was it warm slightly?
No, not hardly. It hasn't grown 3 times its size.
By the way, if you ever go into the Goblin Gummy business, gummies. Mary's down, JR.
Goblin Gummies.
Goblin
there
Gummies.
We go. There we go. That's what Norman would have made with the green, So.
Yep. Okay, cons. Mike, let me hear your cons, sir.
Okay. I think it's mainly because my biggest cons of this were Patrick Gleason's art. I think there were times where he's kind of seemed to be almost like a discount Roberto Ramos in a lot of panels. And also, I don't know if maybe it's because of what the color choices or the inker, but especially when you kept showing that Mary Jane thing, it looks flat. Like there doesn't look like it has a lot of depth or to
like
it.
the mighty Marvel manner, art in the mighty Marvel manner.
Right.
Draw the Marvel way. Remember with like all dynamic.
Which I have that book too, and it's almost like there's a washed out look to some of these panels and everything. Oh, and there's also big aside from that Kingpin with the shadow looked like he was wearing.
Oh yeah, the sunglasses that didn't work, did it?
No, it's either over inked or it's not inked enough.
It's just it's meant to be like a menacing picture, like
Sure.
like he's kind of brooding over it, and you can't see his eyes, because they're shadowed by his brow.
What were you saying,
Yeah.
Kelly?
I was just gonna say, to me, it didn't look like sunglasses. It looked like someone watched too much JoJo, which is an anime
Yes.
about male modeling,
Mhm.
and that's literally how it's drawn.
Because when I think Kingpin, I think male model.
Yeah.
No, I think it's because in certain anime and everything, where they first black out the eyes to make it look like they're like really like angry or whatever it is, like they're and all that stuff. It didn't work here. Which also brings me to the other scene, but the Kingpin Kindred scene. I didn't really care for that because again, it's like referring back. It's a repeat of what he did before in an earlier issue, and also it's still kind of vague. And I was kind of joking about how his moratorium on Peter, is still in effect, even though he's got Kindred supposedly where he wants him. But it also brings up the question too, and maybe this is something maybe you can correct me if you set me straight here, George, because I remember way back when with that scene where Kingpin bows to Kindred. Well, now that we know that Kindred is Harry Osborn, would he really be doing that? I don't know. I mean, he doesn't. Grant doesn't know who Kindred really is, but even so, it's kind of, to me, it just isn't. It doesn't. It still doesn't. It doesn't sit right even more so now.
Well,
than it did
I remember at the time it happened. I remember objecting to Kingpin bowing before anybody. Because it's just not in the Kingpin's nature. But at the same time, if there's somebody he's bowing to, if he believes they can actually bring back his dead wife and son,
true, yeah.
Then I think that because Kingpin would do anything, as he's proven, as he's shown many times, even during the thrice damned god awful clone conspiracy,
and the Spider-Verse movie that you've not seen,
that there's not much that he wouldn't do to get at least his wife back.
That's true. Yeah, his wife is actually his weak spot.
Yeah.
As Daredevil found out, has exploited often.
And that's something I've always liked about Kingpin, to be honest. The fact that because it humanizes him on the level, it does.
Right.
Right. Here, real quick before we go, Vinkman, thank you for the super chat. He says,
I haven't given my cons.
Here, we're going to get to cons. I want to get these super chat thank yous going. The
I've been
episode
thinking Venkman every time he puts one.
Brought to you by the Goblin Gummies and Oscorn. Is there any other super villain in the Spider-Man universe that could have a food product? Because we've given Norman twice. What would Doc Ock's food product
Calamari.
be? Calamari.
I don't know, but Scorpion would be breakfast cereal. Scorpios. Kelly, you got any food products that you can think of, or JR? Or Mike?
Well, Vulture might have, things like Preparation H or Denture Cream or, something like that. It depends.
Yeah, Venom's maples. How about Venom's maple syrup?
Venom.
Because then you could get to my dream plot where Aunt May accidentally pours some of this Venom symbiote on some wheat cakes, samples them, and she becomes the new Venom.
Oh.
No. I will say I do think Aunt May could give Aunt Jemima a run for her money, but that's not a villain, really.
There you go.
You can't put Aunt May on a bottle of syrup. People are going to complain about her white privilege.
Oh, let's not go down this road. Oh my God. Okay,
No.
I'm out.
You don't want to get demonetized.
You can't make anything work on a brand now unless it's just like a tree. Or a field of flowers or something.
But Uncle Ben still has his rice.
No, they've already said they're getting rid of Uncle Ben.
They're done with Uncle Ben too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Josh Nelson says, hearing the panel's disdain for Hunted is awkward because I wrote a 10 best Spidey stories of the 2010s article in the Crawl Space back in 2019 and named it as my favorite of the entire decade. Just because you write it on my site doesn't mean I agree with you, Josh. Everybody's welcome to their own opinions.
I mean, the heart wants what the heart wants, man.
If you like it, go for it, bro.
If you like it, I mean, you only get one run in this life, man. If that's your thing, then run with it. No one's stopping you, bro.
Hop on and ride it till the horse dies.
Yeah. Scream it from the rooftops. For the rest of us,
unless you're Hindu or something, then you get more than one shot, I suppose. But
I would rather suffer hemorrhoids than have to read Hunted again.
Oh, there you go, Vulture hemorrhoid cream. There you go.
It is weird though. I want to point that out. It is weird that Venkman drops that as a question, and then all of us answer with the same thing. Like Hunted wasn't like shed bad. It was just
It just went too long. It just went on too long.
It went on too long, and it just didn't really work for me.
Yeah. Okay, so
No, Shed was an example. You know, and although Slot didn't write it, Shed was an example of that type of story that I hated. That Spencer has not repeated. You know,
Shed
he doesn't
is
tell
freak.
those. Yeah, he doesn't tell those kind of stories where you're literally led to believe. You know, Spencer doesn't do these things where he tries to lead you to believe that something happened, and then, oh no, I didn't mean you to take it that way.
That was just your sick imagination.
Yeah, there was no
Yeah.
Van Lente.
Before I get back onto the con game, the comments are cracking me up. Mary says Craven protein shakes. Adam goes for the joke we've done before. Ben Riley flour. Doc Hornacek says Doc Ock would have cinnamon toast crunch with the shrimp tails that we saw in the news last week. Mary also says Venom Spice. Mysterios.
Mysterios is better than Scorpios. I think Dr. Octopus's cereal, if you've ever watched Robot Chicken Star Wars stuff, they once did a commercial for Admiral Akbar cereal. And it was like, ooh, real marshmallows. Ooh, real imitation crab.
It's a trap.
Your tongue can't repel flavor of this magnitude.
Okay,
Robot Chicken
Mike,
Star
can we
Wars
give all
are
your
inspired.
cons?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
That was my con.
Who would like to talk about cons first? Go ahead, George.
I didn't have any.
Oh, okay. Then I'll
I
talk
just wanted
more
to point out
about
that I didn't have any.
Moreland milkshakes, says Power Packers.
Let Kelly go with her.
Go ahead, Kelly. What's your
Well,
cons?
I mean, I was going to agree on Gleason's art, and then I also the reason why there was such a big comment thing here is just because it wasn't really about Bullseye, like exactly what he was doing. I mean, it's subtle and you can tell, but I do think that they should have made it a tad bit more obvious that that was the intention, just because that's where you get the confusion from. And
Yeah.
really my main cons, but then at the same time, I want to have more Kindred in here because we know that basically this is kind of setting it up. He's going to come out and he's going to have to fight Kingpin first.
Oh yeah.
And then, and maybe have to team up with Peter on this here. And so I'm like, can we just get to that now? Because it shouldn't take, 10 issues to get the rest of this tablet from Fred. He's not that smart.
No.
So, but yeah, the art, I think really, I would have given it at least a B+ or an A- had it not been the art. So.
Right.
I think I'm alone in not minding the art so much, but here's the thing. Remember, it ties back into what I said. When the story is so strong,
right?
A lot of times, like art that might have been marginal to me otherwise, it doesn't register. I just enjoy the story.
I Gleason, I love his cover art. His interior, it doesn't match the cover sometimes.
He did a great job with the GOG fight, I thought.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The GOG shot
dynamic.
of Spider-Man holding GOG as a baby, licking his face. That was nice.
I love that one, but it's inconsistent art is what
Exactly.
it gets.
I agree.
There's that one panel of Jonah though, like when in this issue with Robbie, the meeting with Robbie and Randy and Jonah, where Jonah's like, looks like he's having a stroke in that one picture.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the only art that I kind of noticed and was like, oh, that's a rough depiction. But otherwise, I didn't mind it, and I thought he did really good again with the GOG fight.
And if Neil was on the show, he would talk about inkers and colorists, and I don't appreciate them as much as Neil does with that. When we do satellites, he always comments on the inking took away from the penciling and the coloring, and I guess I don't separate it all. I just take it as one big picture.
Well, the inking and coloring is very important.
It is.
That's why part of the thing is like if you do, again, go back to that Marvel method thing that George referred to. It's like if you put too much or you put too little, it really affects the art in general.
Like George did the peanut butter and chocolate analogy. Sometimes it's not a Reese's cup. Sometimes it's something not as delicious.
Inking and comics fandom it typically does not get the reverence that it deserves.
I would agree.
It really doesn't. It is not an easy job.
No, it's
very
not
skilled.
Yeah, it's also why I say art, and I try not to like super blame Gleason for it, because I don't know his pencils. I only know the finished artwork, and I know, like, I think any artist that has done pencils and had a different inker can tell you, if you don't get along with that inker, or their art styles are too different, it's going to turn into something else than what it started off as. The inconsistencies might not be on Gleason, it might be on the inker, it might be on the colorist, but the thing is that this art team that is on these books right now has inconsistent art.
I agree.
It's why a lot of artists only work with like one inker in particular.
Right.
Yeah, like Byrne and Terry Austin worked a lot together.
It's that important.
Yeah. I would agree. JR, cons out of you, sir?
I still always bring up the fact, when Bullseye is going, I'm going to miss him so much and stuff like that. It's like,
you mean Boomerang, but
Boomerang, not Bullseye.
Who did I say?
You said Bullseye.
You said Bullseye.
Bullseye's not talking to his gun. What I'm going to miss the little gun so much.
Yeah. There's one. I mean, everybody seems to forget that Fred Myers is Australian, and they also seem to forget that he killed Jack Potts' husband right in front of her. They also seem to forget he's tried to kill Spider-Man on more than one occasion. Spidey seems to have forgotten that. I don't know. I mean, again, this obviously Spencer loves this character. He's not writing that Bullseye. Gosh darn it. He's not writing that Boomerang. He's writing this Boomerang character that he created in Superior Foes. But it's still kind of hard to reconcile that they're the same character. The thing with Jonah saying, "Oh, Robbie, you think you're better than me," just didn't quite seem right. I mean, I can kind of see. I can kind of see
all the time, JR.
No, they did, but it didn't get to the almost childish "you think you're better than me" level. I mean, it was an approach. They each had different approaches to the news.
Robbie has always been a hard journalist, and Jameson's always wanted to go with the muckraking stuff.
Jameson wasn't always a muckraker.
No, Jonah has been, and this is kind of. Again, I don't know how Spencer's opinion about Jonah, for example, but Jonah in the past has been portrayed as a great journalist who has one
Achilles heel,
Spider-Man, and
exactly,
and the whole,
you can't get over that.
And how inferior Spider-Man made him feel, and how inconsequential Spider-Man made him feel, and
but
also
Zdarsky
how he
took that away. Zdarsky took that away.
And how that Spider-Man didn't take. But I this whole thing about where he's feeling, "Oh, Robbie, you think you're better than me." That doesn't it just doesn't jive. I just don't see them having that kind of disagreement or conversation. But let's see what else here.
Jonah's not always. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jared.
No, I was supposed to, but Jonah's not always consistent. But sometimes I think some of these writers forget how to write him.
I mean, the same Jonah that paid to have the Spider Slayers created is the same Jonah that later wrote an editorial admitting it and admitting he was wrong on it.
Yep.
So, and owning up to it. So, I mean, Jonah's complex, and Jonah can swing a lot of ways. I do want to say one thing. Well, I mean, not that way, Jeff. But I do want to say something about Fred and the way Fred's been depicted in the past and the way Fred is now. A lot of villains do have story arcs where they go from crime to maybe not a hero, but at least not as bad. Sandman had that, and in fact, I preferred the rehabilitated Sandman. We talked about that before.
I like that. It gave him an arc.
It was a success story. It was where Spider-Man could look at it and say, "You know what? I finally had an impact on this guy, and maybe made him see things differently."
And John Byrne and Howard Mackie took it away.
Yeah, they totally ruined it. But I liked all the stuff that had been done with Sandman before. Let's not forget, though, there's other Marvel heroes that started off as villains. Hawkeye,
Black Widow.
Black Widow started off as a villain. So, Prowler. I don't think Prowler's a murderer, but Prowler, and let's not forget, I want to forget it as bad as Spencer and everybody else right now does, but I mean, look at the damage Slott did with Black Cat.
Mm-hmm.
Black Cat is a mass murderer. unfortunately. But
That's the slot. Yes,
I'm happy to forget that. But I mean, it doesn't change the fact that it happened.
Spider-Man's a murderer under slot too, with Doc Ock taking what was the guy with the metal head?
Massacre.
Well,
Massacre.
I don't know. That's Doc Ock. That's not Spider-Man. It was just done in Spider-Man's body. I don't put that on Spider-Man.
Eh.
So I mean,
So he's not responsible for that?
Peter's not. No,
Yeah.
it wasn't Peter doing it just because it was Peter's body.
You know, it's funny though. Does the world realize that Doc Ock was in Spider-Man's body? You know,
Nope.
Nope.
because the world should remember Spider-Man putting a bullet through some guy's head.
Exactly.
Oh.
So
True.
no, it's
True.
something
But
that
like
doesn't
George
get it.
said, though, we want to forget that because that was
Yeah.
just
We do.
stupid.
And again, I don't put the murder that Doc Ock did in Spider-Man's body on Spider. It's because it wasn't Peter Parker.
Mhm.
I mean, Doc Ock was just using a body. I mean, he was using
Yeah.
Parker as a meat suit.
Mhm.
Ooh,
Well, I mean, it's
a meat
true.
suit. Did he get that from
From Stegron? No,
Stegron with his meat
No.
gun?
no. So, but to end my point, that's what I'm saying about, I don't have as much problem. Yes, Boomerang was a hired killer and did kill people back in the day, but villains can evolve, and when it happens, if it's interesting, we should like
yeah, but he was
Tombstone.
also a vicious killer. I mean, this guy.
No, he was. I mean, he was.
I didn't really see anybody. I didn't really look at that and say, oh, this guy's eventually going to cry on Spider-Man's shoulder over a pet alien. You know?
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you on that point. I'm just saying it is possible for these characters to evolve.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that issue that we haven't hit up?
I think we kind of covered it. I think.
Yeah. Josh gave us a super chat and took a shot at George. His favorite joke villain is Stegron, is what Josh said. Your rebuttal, sir?
Ooh.
Wow.
I think the rest of us should leave and let George handle this mano y mano. You know.
Right. Oh yes.
Go. Warm up, George. Get him.
I mean, he's right to be. I mean, it's his right.
right
It's
to
his
be wrong.
constitutional right to be wrong.
I think Razorback's a pretty good choice. I like him as a joke. Razorback, Kangaroo,
I think
White
everybody
Rabbit.
knows mine.
Frogman.
Frogman. Oh yeah.
I think my favorite-
I saw
I think my favorite-
I saw a Frogman action figure, and is it the Marvel Legends line or whatever?
I had to buy it because it's so darn crazy. Here, look at this thing. I haven't bought a
Wow.
Marvel Legend in years. Look at that thing.
How has your wife not murdered you for the crap you buy?
I tell you what, man, I got a saint.
I mean, like all those books you cover for like Satellite. I mean, you buy
know.
Carnage comics for crying
I
out
do.
loud.
I do.
Yeah, but here's the thing. My favorite one, and this is it's a crying shame. I don't think they've ever done an action figure of this guy. I could be wrong. The Hypno Hustler.
Oh my God, I love Hypno Hustler.
I think mine might be White Rabbit.
I love
White
White Rabbit.
Rabbit's good. Yeah.
Kelly,
White Rabbit.
who you got? Who's one of your favorite lame ones?
I mean, I don't know, because my thing is like I just focus on the good ones, that I don't
Mhm.
think about the bad ones.
Yeah.
So I guess in a way, what's her face that I hate so much? The
Well, that doesn't narrow it down.
Yeah, that doesn't narrow it down. Paper Doll.
What's a face that I hate so much I can't even
Screwball,
remember
Screwball.
her name?
Screwball. Yeah, there you go.
Screwball,
I'll
Screwball.
give it to Screwball, but I hate her. But she's the only joke villain that I can think of right now.
The other good one is the Walrus.
Mm-hmm.
Cuckoo, Cuckoo, yeah.
No, the Walrus guy is
Yeah.
because I think
I was going to ask Kelly what's your favorite joke villain from Spider Girl, but honestly, I don't think there were any.
There really weren't. That's
Yeah.
the thing.
What about the janitor that changed? He was kind of weird.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you mean the 1,000?
Okay, no. He's
No.
in Spider Girl. He's talking about Hack Mutter. He's talking about
Oh,
the Dragon
that guy.
King.
Okay.
But the thing is, if the Dragon King applied himself instead of just running through the high school like a Kool-Aid man, he could have literally taken over the world. Like he had all these dragon powers. He was actually very formidable. Applied himself, but no, he has to get mad that someone, broke a tray, their lunch in the cafeteria, went into a dragon, and then create more destruction in the high school that he has to clean up later.
I want to see the Kool-Aid Man bust through Kelly's wall right now. Behind her.
Oh yeah, Kelly, you would be a great teacher. That's like a parent-teacher conference. If he would apply himself and not be the Kool-Aid Man, he could rule the world.
If he could learn a skill and maybe make a meat gun.
Yeah.
You know,
completely.
Oh, that was funny.
If he could only apply this to to the school cafeteria to improve
Yeah.
the pizza or something.
Right. Yeah.
You remember when you were a kid and like you were in grade school and you got excited on pizza day, like when it was pizza
Oh
day,
yeah.
like it was a big
And it wasn't
deal?
even very good pizza.
No.
If you go back and eat that now, it
Oh,
tastes like
God.
ass.
It does, man.
It tastes like eating pizza at Chuck E. Cheese, which is great when you're a kid, but when you're an adult with a
Oh,
refined
man.
palate, it tastes like ketchup with meat on it.
Cardboard ketchup. Is what it is.
Cardboard ketchup with
Oh,
meat on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was a good one, Josh. Thank you for the super chat. That's awesome. JR, do you have a bad villain besides the fifth goblin?
Yeah, trying to think of the joke villains. I mean,
Joey Z, Facade.
I'm kind of partial to White Rabbit, to be honest. I mean, I like the, I'm kind of fond of the humorous tone that Spencer takes with some of the villains.
Yeah.
I liked his female evil squadron or sinister whatever they
Yeah.
were or whatever. You know, they had
Yeah.
the
That
villainous.
wasn't Femme Fatales, was it?
No, they had the
No.
daycare center, and then
Yeah.
one of them's a vegan and the other's not. And
That was
yeah,
funny.
I like a good joke villain.
Mhm.
So
Another good joke villain is the only one that ever has a franchise, which was Choctaw the Chicken Cow.
Mm.
And that was a
Great.
Stegron story.
That was a Segron story too.
What about Banjo, JR?
Banjo was
There's-
pretty bad.
Banjo.
there's a difference between a joke villain and a villain that is just
And an
simply
awful
offensive.
villain.
Just an awful villain. Yeah.
If the panel is willing, I thought we'd take some questions from the rest of you. They're asking if we're doing spider news. I don't really have much spider news, with the exception of the Diamond thing that came out
Yeah, that one.
and the
that came out.
Penguin Marvel release. We can talk a little bit about that.
Mhm.
What do you guys think
What,
of
you
that?
mean you didn't find any bogus Ditko pictures on the web or anything?
No, well, actually, I do have Ditko news. Hold on, I can do
Oh,
Ditko news if you want it,
Oh,
JR.
good.
I
Thanks,
got it.
JR.
You need it?
We are.
Our friend Bruce, who is our big spider collector, is putting on a Ditko show in Jonestown, Pennsylvania, and they're going to have Ditko art up, and Ditko's family is going to be there, and I'm going to see if I can get Bruce and Ditko's brother and his nephew on the show. That'd be kind of fun to interview some Ditkos.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get a Ditko on this show for years, but that would be fun.
Mhm.
Oh my God! I don't.
You asked for it, JR. You're
I
gonna get
know.
it.
I did. It's just like, I mean, as eloquent as Steve Ditko was, I can just imagine how eloquent his family's got to be.
Don't insult the fam. Come on.
Oh,
Well, I
man.
mean, come on. I mean, how old have these people got to be? I mean,
So here, let me pose the
and they're
question for you. What do you
Jonestown,
think?
Pennsylvania. I
Yep.
mean,
Oh, come on. So I'm opening up to the panel. What do you think of Marvel ditching Diamond? They going with Penguin Press. What do you guys think of that?
As I posted on the Discord,
Yeah.
that clip from Other People's Money.
Yeah.
It's
That's a
basically
great movie. Yeah.
yeah, basically that whole speech with Danny DeVito gives is like, I bet at one time there was probably when buggy whips were going out of fashion, there was probably the last company made the best dang buggy whip you ever saw, and then. But again, it's basically reminding us because let's face it, Diamond Distributors is an old business model going back when we had the 90s, and we basically we had the first comic book crash thing. So the idea of having an actual publishing house actually help the distribution is again, it's something that was inevitable a long time coming. Because let's face it, I mean, this comic we've complained in the past about comics having a distribution problem for ages.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Kelly, what are you gonna say?
I'm going to speak from a somewhat know the hardware and upkeep in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
Penguin has the bandwidth; they have the money to support what Marvel wants to do after all of this COVID nonsense, and everything being crazy last year. Diamond took a hit, not to mention Diamond took a major hit when DC left them. So it honestly might just make more sense, because it could possibly be, especially since they are going to continue to use Diamond to help distribute, be with the fact that Diamond might have to slim down their company model and reestablish what it is, versus Penguin. They can probably afford to buy a few new presses, or even buy those presses off of Diamond,
right?
Or pay Diamond to print them for them under their name. That's kind of what I see this idea is. So to me, I think this is ultimately just Marvel was looking out for Diamond, working with Penguin, which they already work with for their graphic novels, and they're just trying to, one, make it more cohesive and probably make a few bucks, but then also it might be a way to try and it in Marvel's head, it might be a way that they're thinking to try and save the industry, because if Diamond goes down, that would have been really bad for Marvel.
Right.
And Anime is saying that Marvel can still order through Diamond. Retailers can still order books through them. They just have to pay extra for shipping. And I think, is it because Penguin is so big they can cover the shipping losses?
Yes,
or whatever?
They can, because Penguin has been publishing books for for how many years? Penguin Classics, all this other stuff, and everything like this. So,
will they have a deal with the post office to get discounts or something?
Well, again, they have their own big. Penguin has their own publishing outfit, as Kelly was saying, which is why I'm thinking this. Even though Diamond is still going to be part of this distribution, it's not going to be long until they're going to be shut out completely. It's just inevitable. Because again, you can't have a monopoly, because like any monopoly, sooner or later it's going to collapse on its own weight.
And Diamond was hurting, and that's the thing. Diamond got hurt by this. Ultimately, got hurt by DC Comics.
Right.
Yeah, but that was on Diamond.
That
was on Diamond.
Well,
they can say it's on Diamond. I think it's them not knowing what to do, because let's be fair here, they're that have been delayed multiple times until very recently due to the storms, and that part's not even on Diamond, because I've had to run into those similar issues with FedEx during in my day job. So that really was mostly on the Postal Service for those comic delays,
right?
Not necessarily Diamond themselves, and that was due to the storms. It's been worked out, but that the situation is, regardless, they lost a major player that was probably
DC,
barely keeping them together, and then also having the added COVID costs that every small business has had to deal with. That hurt them, and ultimately Marvel has to look out for themselves. And I think the way that they're handling this is also trying to keep Diamond from also going under. So that shows you that they're trying to keep this industry as a whole, because Diamond is going to go under. Give them about a year, and that's just inevitable.
Right.
And the thing is, the other part of that is with DC. What the hell is even going to happen with DC? Warner Brothers is trying to sell off DC, which makes me wonder, how the hell are they going to sell off DC? Because they're not going to stop making DC or attempting to make DC superhero movies.
That's a whole other separate mess. That's what I'm saying. Is they can blame
would just sell the publishing rights.
They can blame these. They can blame Diamond, and honestly, sure, there's probably stuff Diamond did mess up or did mishandle, but the thing is ultimately that's on the people currently running DC Comics who don't know what they're doing.
Agreed.
Is this a good thing for comic readers? Are we even going to notice a difference? Are we going to get cheaper books? I don't think we will.
It depends on how it gets distributed. Because if this sounds more like, if you're going to try to make it more like comics more available in bookstores, for example, especially since with your Penguin Random House, if they are primarily a book publishing outfit, they're probably got to have better contacts. But then again, how many large chain bookstores are left nowadays? But so the only thing you could think of is if you get Barnes and Noble or something like that, or I don't know if you could put, if it's possible that it be with this business model. Would they try to would these comics get back into places like Walmart or something? But again, it's all going to depend upon how you're going to distribute physical copies of this thing.
I think it's going to be bumpy for a while as they figure it out.
Yeah.
But then once they figure it out, I think Penguin will actually be better at it than Diamond was.
Yeah.
Right.
I will agree with that. And I think that the possibility here is endless on it maybe getting back to a spinner rack in in a Barnes and Noble or at
that
a
would
Target.
be awesome.
You have like those dollar books might get expanded because Penguin might see that as a actual selling point. And then two, the selling model, like the them deciding what books get canceled and what don't, and what book stays might actually get changed because it depends on how like the head charge that Penguin is charging Marvel for printing these pages.
Yeah.
So we it could be a good thing. I am weary just because change is scary and Marvel.
The devil you know, the devil you don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not always a good thing, but I do think that Penguin can at least handle the comics, and since they're not changing it, it's a good thing. Now, of course, if sales tank, then I think that they're then just going to go, well, let's just make them all graphic novels anyway.
I mean, we've talked about them heading towards that anyway.
Yeah,
well, yeah, especially with the DC's, like especially with the same thing what they did with DC did their, what is it called, that future state or whatever it is, where they doubled the size of the comics and everything like this. And I think they're trying to continue on with that to try to basically make it twice, which of course is going to be twice the price as it was before. That's where
DC. The rumor is a source is bleeding cool. Take it what you will. On the Bat books, they're raising them up to what, $6 a cover price?
Yep, because it's twice the length of a regular. Because it's
40 pages.
Regular comic now.
If the price of Spider-Man went up to $6, that would be it for me.
You're done.
I mean, I like the Spencer run, and I've already said I'm not paying $10 for. It depends on what the digital price would be, but the digital price is typically,
the same. So they don't take the brick and mortar.
I'm not paying $6 for a digital comic.
But let's take
$6 for a physical comic.
But let's take into consideration that if you're going to be treating comics now like magazines, magazine printing is way more expensive now because there's not much, print wise. Has been going more towards digital. I mean, granted, you still, ideally you have to have more physical copies of some kind because who knows what would happen to a digital thing if something, if you go, all that stuff is on there and it goes out. But that's the thing, because I imagine this is probably not going to reduce the price of comics in the near future, because if anything, because if you're going to be trying to put it on better quality stuff and more better printing, quality, it's going to be, I imagine you're not going to, comic prices are not going to go down. They're going to go up.
I have one thing I noticed, not to interrupt you, let me just ask this point. I noticed with the new deal, Marvel comics are still not returnable. Are other books returnable? I don't know if that's true. Like if Stephen King, if you have 20 Stephen King books in a bookstore and 15 don't sell, can you send them back to the bookstore?
No.
Publisher?
No. You can, because they tear the covers off of them.
Okay. They tear the covers off of them, or as basically one of the things I found out, they actually burn them.
They burn them. Okay.
Yes, they actually did. There was a guy. It was an author that I read about. It's the same guy who actually wrote the original First Blood. Yes, it was actually a novel, folks. He talked about how when they had excess copies of it, they basically took it and took all the excess copies they couldn't sell to an incinerator because they don't want to.
Interesting.
Well,
I was thinking if Marvel made it returnable, maybe that would be more profitable. I don't know. It would make changes. Go ahead, Kelly. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I was going to say sometimes it depends on the it depends on the contract with the publishers and stuff like that. But a lot of times the bookstores too, nowadays, instead of burning them or etc., they'll sell them to the secondhand stores.
Right.
So,
like half-price books.
Yeah, the half-price
books, books by the pound.
Yeah,
they'll send them there, and I assume that if back into these bookstores, that's the same situation. Which the thing is half price books by the pound, those kinds of stores sell plenty of comics. That I mean, they have comics literally by the pound.
Oh yeah.
Time.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed, like with sometimes like you can even find comics like old ones in like antique stores where they basically have like stacks of them and everything. I'm not sure necessarily they would all be good because I think some people take the good ones and you live behind like some ones that you haven't even heard of, but yeah, I mean, yeah, but like I said before, it's going to depend on how these are going to be distributed because it's still going to be like getting physical copies into the hands of customers as opposed
new
to
customers, younger customers, and us.
Yeah.
One thing I wonder about, and is how, like, if Penguin tries to start putting them in stores again, how that's going to affect crap like variants, because it's weird because like let's say they want to put something in CVS or 7-Eleven or Walmart or wherever, or grocery stores. I don't think those things are going to be all on board with buying X amount of comics just so they can get like some kind of rare variant. But then again, I don't know, because a lot of those stores, CVS, Walmart, etc., they'll do toy variant deals where you can only get certain types of toys. Go ahead, Kelly.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say, so that kind of deal would have to change. And so instead it would be, okay, CVS is paying us X amount of money for this special CVS only variant. Barnes & Noble is going to get their Barnes & Noble only variant. And so basically the variant model will change. The thing is that could either blow it up even more and have even more variant covers, or maybe it'll temper it a little bit, which I think that it kind of needs to, just a slight bit, because it's getting a little bit too everything has a variant cover, therefore it makes all variant covers worthless.
I mean, it's been like that for 15 years now.
Well, the thing I read on the Bleeding Cool was they're going to continue the store exclusive variants. So I think that's going to continue unless that, like George says, if you put the worm in the water and they don't bite, then it's going away. JR, we haven't heard your thoughts. What are your thoughts on doing away with Diamond? And
I'm not sure really how much it's like, what about me? What's it to me? And I'm not so sure that it really impacts me, because I know where I'm at the point in my life. I'm at the point in time where, like, I know where I get my stuff. It's not going to matter to me whether it shows up in Barnes and Noble or CVS or something like that. I am kind of curious. I don't know. It might. I think it's good for the industry, though. I think having their distributions tied to one fragile operator like Diamond was dangerous. I think Kelly has already elaborated on that. There was one podcast that I listened to. A fellow who seems to know about retailing or whatever, but he said that as a result of Marvel doing this deal with Penguin, that Penguin won't let Marvel get away with some of their shenanigans, which he didn't elaborate then, but I don't know what he meant. But I guess the implication, I guess, is that they won't publish as many stupid comics that won't sell.
That'd be good.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. I can kind of see that.
And they won't do the stupid. I mean, they may do variants, but not. You wouldn't have the over shipping and the sticking retailers or sticking comic book retailers with crap they can't sell deliberately.
Right, exactly.
Because since Penguin kind of know, because they've been in the publishing business a long time, they kind of would have an idea. They usually have a better idea of like what book sells, what books regular books sells, and what don't. And so,
Penguin would most likely sell. Amazing Spider-Man will sell, but New Warriors. I mean, come on. Don't insult us by trying to get us.
But then you have to worry about the niche comic that does a breakthrough, like the Hawkeye Fraction book. Would Penguin say, "Hey, that's not going to sell. We want more X-Men and Spider-Man, and we want more Batman"? Are we just going to have that? Or are we never going to get?
Penguin's not going to say we want more Batman.
Right.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Well, I mean, but again, that's maybe because that's why you're going to have these guys who are comic book creators are going to have to really pitch as like their ideas. You just can't. You actually have to. Hey, you actually have to sell this. To make it a selling point. You just can't like, oh, just because that these guys were, flavor of the month type thing, like for nostalgic reasons, we're just going to publish a, comic thing, like, like Prowler, for instance. Oh, and it turns out the Prowler's not really the Prowler because it's a clone of Prowler and all this other stuff.
And we're going to cancel it issue 6. It was a mini anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Right.
Here, we've got comments coming in. Let me get what, George?
I want to ask JR a question real quick.
Okay.
Because JR, like you, is married. Well, maybe not like you, but JR is married. And we've established that Brad buys a lot of crap.
Mm-hmm.
JR, if you were to buy a Frogman Legends figure, would you, in your situation, would you have to smuggle that in a brown paper bag the way that you do your cheap liquor and porn?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Really? You would get in trouble for spending $20 on a Marvel Legend?
Here's
Really?
the thing. No, hang on. Here's the thing. Part of this is a mess of my own making.
When you said I do.
But my wife and I have had many. I mean, we've been married for over 30 years. Okay, so we've had a lot of conversations about money. All right, a lot of, and I've given her enough grief over some of her purchases that that if I bought a Frogman or I don't have enough goodwill stored up to get away with a lot of stupid purchases. This is what I'm saying. So yes, I would smuggle it in. Yes.
Is there an allowance made for goblin items? Because you do buy goblin stuff here and there, or do you have to do it like on the hush?
He puts that in the suitcase and brings it.
Does the delivery man deliver to the back door on those types of items?
Well, let's just say that, for example,
we have props. Hold on, here we go.
This is my work bag. It has my work computer, for example. Here's my computer.
That's what he smuggles stuff in. That's his prison pocket.
Yes.
Oh God.
Yep. So yep. So for example,
Oh my! What'd you hide tonight?
Oh,
What's that? Oh, you got a Spider-Man Bendy, didn't you?
Like purchases like this little guy. I mean, they
got a Bendy Goblin.
Like they kind of come home from they come home, kind of in this, in this, And
what else is in there? Hey, how bendy is that, Norman? Let me see.
Oh,
I've never said that.
Let's see here. He there he's got, he bends that way.
Okay.
Let's see here. I don't know. I don't want to break him or anything. Gee,
we're not asking for the rough stuff, JR. We just want a demonstration.
JR's like, I just smuggled them in the house. Give him a few days.
but like I've said before, though, I didn't smuggle these in. I bought these. These came in over the transom because they look like my kids. So
Peter Parker and Harley Quinn.
Yep. Because my daughter used to cosplay as Harley more than once, and she actually kind of looks like Harley, or she did before she dyed her hair red. And of course, this looks like Spencer. Well, it did look like Spencer. Spencer looks like John Wick now.
Whoa.
It's like,
did Spencer put on some muscles? What happened?
No, he
facial hair, probably.
He had facial hair.
Did someone shoot his dog?
It's like it's like I came home, I don't know what it is. I came home, he's on the couch playing video games or whatever, and I said, Spencer, what kind of look are you going for or whatever? And then I went, hey, you're going for John Wick, aren't you? Keanu, so I've started calling him Keanu.
By the way, we haven't had an appearance of Spencer in a long time.
Yeah,
he needs to come on. Does he still read the issues?
You know what? I should hang on here. Hang on a second.
Oh,
let's get the boy down here.
Text the boy, bring him down, and we'll answer his question. In the meantime,
did he grow a beard to go along with the John Wick thing?
The fans are demanding.
Yeah.
Okay, here, let me get through some chat.
Hang on, go through some super chat and let me say.
Victor says, my favorite joke villains are the Red Ghost and his stupid apes. Yeah, that's a good one.
You guys don't understand what an impact it will be on me to see Spencer with a beard.
That'll be great.
Because I remember announcing Spencer's birth over at Hero Room one time, back when he first came into the world, and now he's got a beard.
Wow. So
this will make me feel profoundly old.
Hornet says Kelly's been practicing for the speech about how that Spider-Girl villain, if he applied himself, I think is so you've been practicing for years to get ready for that.
That was awesome.
That was a great one, Kelly.
Okay, when it comes to Spider-Girl, I have strong opinions.
If he just applied himself.
Power Packer says I can just see him running in the school saying, "Oh yeah." Spider Kid's first appearance. I remember that one and the Falco Friends. Phil Goblin was asked. Nobody's favorite, says Adam.
Nope.
For me, my favorite lame villain is the Will-O-Wisp. I like the Will-O-Wisp, Matt. That's a good one. I like that one. Rocket Racer.
Here we
Rocket
go.
Racer.
Here we go.
The boys here.
It's
Hold on.
showtime. Oh my God!
Wow. Spencer, what's going on, man?
Dude.
Hey, Spencer.
Let me see this beard.
Are you in witness protection now? What?
You look old, Keanu.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, that's what my
Hey,
dad
guys.
called me.
Yeah, we were just asking about you, and he said we wanted to know if you're still reading Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, I've been quite a few issues behind because I kind of got tired of Spencer kind of dragging the story along, so I
Yep.
kind of dropped it for a
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, and then when 60 came out, I started looking back into things.
Yeah, that was
see
a
where
good
the
one, wasn't
story
it?
is.
Did you like?
Yeah,
60?
I liked it. Yeah, I liked it.
No
Yeah,
doubt.
it was good stuff. So what are you doing this day? Do you have a job now? Are you working?
No, looking for one though.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you? I was telling them before you came down here. I remember announcing your birth, so it's a trip for me to see you in a beard.
Yeah.
It makes me feel old now. So what? I mean, like you're in school now, like college.
Yeah, I was going to move in on campus in August, but then with 2020 and everything, we decided to kind of wait it out and come
What are you
back
gonna
this
major?
fall.
What are you going to major in?
Criminal justice.
Like your
there you
sister.
go.
Like your sister.
Yeah.
How is she doing?
She's doing good.
Aren't you an uncle now? Didn't
No,
she wind up having a kid? I thought. No, she got married. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
not
No,
that either.
she didn't
No.
get married.
Not
I
that
don't
either.
remember. George, you're
I
making
thought
things up.
she got married and like had a kid or something. Maybe I'm just like
No.
thinking
You're mixing.
that,
you're
that's
thinking,
where it's all
Don't let
going.
JR hear these things. He
Maybe
doesn't
I
wanna
just
be
want
a
to see JR
grandfather.
as a granddad because I want to watch him.
freak out.
Yeah.
JR would be holding a grandbaby like a baby Gog.
Admit it, Spencer. That would be funny.
It would.
Yeah, it would. Your dad was showing us all the ways he smuggles toys.
Oh,
into the
yeah.
house.
He says that he would get in trouble with your mom if he bought some weird Spider-Man stuff. So he smuggles things in his brief. Well, now we're just putting it out in the universe. He smuggles toys that he buys at the store in his briefcase.
We're narking on JR.
We're totally telling on your dad.
Mhm.
I love
Yeah,
it.
he does that.
So
Oh,
are you like still playing Spider-Man video games? Are you doing like the new Spider-Man video game?
Oh, yeah.
With the Miles stuff. You
Yeah.
like that?
Oh,
That's been
Oh, yeah.
enjoyable.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
Here, Spencer, we have comments for you. Venkman says, "Hey, Spencer." Josh Nelson says, "Spencer really does look like John Wick."
I miss the times when Spencer would come on and help review stuff. You remember?
I did
remember
too.
those
You
days?
were,
I think
you're
those
sitting
were
next
fun.
to your
Yeah,
dad. It was fun.
those were fun.
Howard
Yeah, family
Packer
time.
says, "You look like a late 2000s drummer."
Yeah. I
Oh,
see it.
Dave Grohl, you mean? Man, that's a good one.
Dave Grohl. There you go. These are all compliments, I think.
They
Spencer,
are,
have you
actually.
been watching the Marvel stuff on Disney Plus, like WandaVision and Captain America, or the Winter Soldier stuff? Falcon
Yeah,
and
I'm
Winter
all,
Soldier.
I'm all caught up on that. Yeah.
What'd
Do
you
you
think?
like them? Are you liking those?
Yeah, I liked them. Yeah.
Josh says, "I can see JR chasing his grandkids around the house on a glider."
Yeah. I can see that.
What about the Mandalorian? You been watching any of that, like on Disney Plus?
Yeah. Finished the 2 seasons. Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah, I liked it.
Mary says to tell Spencer to get goblin gummies for his dad. That gives him that's how Norman Osborn is giving the goblin serum now with goblin gummies.
Oh.
Yeah, like their edibles and stuff. Do the kids know about that these days? Is that a thing that the kids talk about?
Jesus, how old are you, George?
Don't
No,
ask
no.
him.
Kelly is face palming. What's going on?
No, we're too busy
I'm
with
just-
TikTok.
Did you just say Dad gave you the talk? What'd you say?
No, I said no. To answer George's question about the kids and everything, I'm like, no, we're too busy like doing like TikToks or whatever.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
TikTok. Okay.
Spencer,
Yeah.
are you following GOG on Instagram?
No,
We
no,
just
I'm not.
Good.
everybody just boosted his numbers in this
Yeah.
episode.
So what else is going on? You got like a girlfriend or anything?
What?
No.
You're like grilling them, George. I mean,
we haven't seen Spencer literally in years. I'm trying to get caught up on Spencer and find out what's going on in this young man's life.
You in a band?
Are you in a band? Do you and the homies get together in the garage somewhere?
I love Kelly's reaction. Is what?
My gosh. I'm
What?
sorry, Spencer.
Oh no, you're good.
Oh, you've never met Kelly, by the way. Spencer,
No.
Kelly, Kelly,
Kelly,
Spencer.
Hi.
Spencer.
Hi.
Peter Palmer says, "Hey Spencer, how would your dad embarrass you in front of your friends if he wanted to?"
Oh, okay. So story time.
Oh yeah! All right.
One time, I was my sophomore year. It was around the time when Deadpool 2 came out, and I just got done with a sleepover at a friend's house, and when we woke up in the morning, we all decided, like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we saw Deadpool 2? But we realized that not all of us are 17 and older at the time, so that's a couple of us would need to get permission from our parents to get a ticket. So I asked Dad, I'm like, hey, can you like come with me into Regal for a couple minutes so I can get a ticket to Deadpool? And then he's like, yeah, I'll be right there. I'm like, okay, thanks, Dad. And he's like, uh-huh. And then when we get to Regal, I see this old man sitting outside the entrance wearing a Green Goblin mask and just on his phone, just waiting. And then like our designated driver, whoever, like he looks at me, he's like, that's her dad, right? I'm like, yeah, how could you tell? He's like, I just had that. I just had a thought. Maybe. And then he just hands me the ticket. He's like, don't ask me to do that again. I'm like, okay, Dad, thanks.
Did he do it in the goblin voice? He was like, don't ask me to do that again. Was he like,
No, he just handed me a ticket. He's like, don't ask me to do that again. He's like, I've been sweating wearing this thing for 15 minutes. I'm like, I to wear it.
Wow. Michael Reed says that George is making the Spencer biopic.
Look, no, listen. We used to love it when Spencer used to come on.
I loved
back
it
in the day.
Still do.
And we haven't had that for years, and we're just happy to see Spencer, and we're trying to get caught up. Or at least I am. I want to know about Spencer's, you know, what everything has been going on, you know, like.
Yes. Adam is wanting to know how we de-age JR for this segment. How do we do it?
Special effects.
Hey, Spencer, did you enjoy? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Did you enjoy your dad's bald face?
Oh yeah, when he shaved his head, what'd you think of that?
Oh yeah, he always does that. Whenever
I've not seen it in 10 years.
We only saw it once. Yeah.
Usually he does that when he would go home to visit his mom, or when he just wants to annoy my mom because he knows that she hates it when he does that. So yeah, he does that from time to time.
Josh says, I wish my dad would wear a Green Goblin mask with me in public. Spencer, a Goblin Story. That's what the name of the biopic is.
So Spencer, being your father's son, did you inherit the love of the Green Goblin, or do you have like another favorite villain?
Oh no, I love Green Goblin. Yeah.
Okay,
he's my favorite. Yeah.
You don't now. You can blink like this if you're in distress, and you have to enter distress.
He wants you to say
because you don't want to. Yeah, but no.
do.
I want to know what Spencer's favorite villain is. If it's legitimately Green Goblin, that's fine. I'm not pressuring him to like. I'm not trying to convert somebody to Stegronism.
Oh no, Stegronism. Is there any
Goblin's
other embarrassing stories about your father we've not heard related to comic books or anything?
Well, there's a time that
I love it.
Yeah, there's a time where growing up multiple times people have asked me, "Oh, is that your grandpa you're hanging out with?" I'm like, "No, that's my dad."
Oh,
I've actually gotten that when I was
really?
With my dad. Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
And he's got like senior discounts too.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a buck's a buck. You know,
a buck's a buck.
Yeah, a penny saved is a penny earned, right?
Hey, my mom's hair started turning gray when she was 18. She dyed it for years. I think she was like 45 when she was like, screw it, I'm not dyeing it anymore. Some teenager at Kroger was like, oh, it's Wednesday, so I'll give you the senior discount.
Oof.
She milked that for all it was worth.
Oh,
It was
man.
like 15% off. Heck yes. And because she's just now going to be eligible.
Right. I will admit this embarrassing story. Once I was at a parent night or whatever, and I'm 46. My daughter's 10. So I had her when I was 36. Some people in my area maybe start having kids when they're 18 or something. So one woman went up and says, "Oh, hi, Ava. Is that your grandpa?" And I'm like, "No, I'm her father." I mean, come on. Anyway,
there was speaking of going gray, there was this, when Facebook first became a thing and I got on it like in 2008. And you start getting in touch with all your friends from high school. Of course, at that time I was only like in my mid 30s. Yeah. And there was this one gal that we used to go to high school with who started going like gray in like her mid 30s. And it was actually kind of foxy. It actually kind of was. It worked. I mean, like I would see him and I would be like, yeah, it's actually attractive.
Yeah.
Spencer,
here we don't want to keep you too long, but here's a question.
Spencer, join the show. Just come on right.
have JR log on with his phone. Has your mom ever watched JR on the show?
No, I don't think she has.
Oh dear. Oh,
what would it? No, I don't want to get him in trouble, but yeah, that would be fun to see her reaction of JR talking comic books. It would be an interesting hour to have Mrs. Fettinger on. That would be fun.
Well, we've had Mrs. Douglas on.
We have. We have.
And the rest of us aren't. The rest of us aren't married. Well, Dark Mark is.
Yeah, Dark
and
Mark
Ashley is, but we've seen Ashley's spouse. We've seen Jack plenty of times.
It would be a nice Fettinger reunion to have all the kids and the mom and JR. This is your life.
No, there's been times where she can hear the podcast from like upstairs through like the air vents, and like we're sitting in the family room, and then like then my mom just goes, "Oh, I hear Dad doing the goblin voice. Must be doing a podcast."
or he's just expressing himself in the privacy of his own lair.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
George is making the Church of Spencer Instagram page right now. Heroing says, "Spencer, you're a lot braver than I would be. I could never share embarrassing stories over the internet." Adam wants a Crawl Space Family spinoff show.
Maybe that's what we'll do for Jeopardy. Crawl Space Family.
JR gave me an F-bomb once. Did he ever do that to you, Spencer?
Yeah.
An F pumpkin bomb. There you go. All right. Well, Spencer, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate it. Good to see you. And don't make it like a couple of years. Come on.
Yeah. Stop in sometime. Say hi.
If you've read the books, come on. Sit next to your dad. That'd be fun.
Or if you want to talk about like if we're reviewing like the next Spider-Man movie or something, jump on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we know you'll probably see it. So
no doubt.
Yeah.
What did you think of the Spider-Man Far From Home?
Oh,
I liked it. Yeah,
I watched previous episode. He was all into that. Yeah.
Was he? Was he?
Yeah, he was. He was on the. He was on the.
Yeah, he was on that episode. You weren't, George.
I wasn't because I didn't see it.
Because you had you had principles.
I had principle. I took a principle.
Michael Reed wants a very JR Christmas, a family crawl space special, is what Michael Reed wants.
Right.
Well, yeah. Make sure you come around for the next one then.
That'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what,
December.
If Spencer agrees for sure that he'll come on and help review. What is the next one? No Way Home.
No Way Home. You want to come on for that? That'd be fun, Spencer.
If Spencer promises to come back for it, I'll go see it.
Okay. Whoa, Spencer, will you come on?
I mean, I can't deny something like that.
Oh yeah.
No pressure.
Best offer he's had this tonight. Yeah.
I mean, last time we talked about a movie, George ended up falling asleep during half of the discussion. So yeah.
Did I? What movie was that?
That was, I think, Homecoming, right?
Yeah.
Did you see?
Yeah,
I think
you weren't on the. You were on the first MCU Spider-Man review show, George.
Did I fall asleep during that?
I don't remember, but evidently Spencer remembers that.
You did.
You got tired of complaining about Iron Man, and then you went to like get a drink, and then you came back and fell asleep.
You went and got a drink and fell asleep.
It was either that. It was either no. I think it was either that, or it was Infinity. It was Infinity War, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, that scene with Spider-Man is George's gonna hate that, and this one, and that one, and this one."
Well, Spencer, go get your dad. I appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you so much, buddy.
It was a good seeing you. Thanks for catching us up.
Thank you, buddy.
I hope no one shoots your dog and you have to declare a vendetta.
Like John Wick, yes.
Yeah, no. They're under the floorboards.
Couple more minutes and we're going to wrap it up. I got a couple super chat questions we got to answer. Thank you, Josh Nelson. He asked for our most overrated spider villain. Moreland is my answer.
Moreland.
Yo, definitely.
Yeah.
Moreland, okay.
Any symbiote character.
Carnage to me is just I never saw the appeal. I mean, I get because the only reason why they created him is because hey, we need a Joker for our Spider-Man. It's like, no, you don't.
JR, thank you for loaning us your boy. He's agreed to come on in December for Far From Home.
Oh yeah.
Now, wait a minute. What's the name of the show? The No Way Home. George made a deal. So he said, Spencer, if you come on, I will go see that movie in December. So they made a deal. Spencer is going to join us on that episode. That'll be fun.
Wow. Okay. And just just because, just so that the boy knows that whatever he says about me, I can always, come back because I have access to pictures. Here is
wow.
Oh, look at that.
During one Halloween.
Oh, your daughter's Kim Possible and he's the Hulk?
Yeah, he was the Hulk. But
what are you? Are you Norman?
Yeah, here we go.
Oh, there you go. I was about to say.
I got glare. Oh my gosh. He said that you wore that when you got him Deadpool tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good story.
But this is what he wouldn't wear the mask. We got him a mask, and he wouldn't wear the mask.
Wear the Hulk mask. Yeah.
So you can't tell because of the glare. But he's got green
face
color.
face on.
Oh, that's adorable.
But my daughter was Kim Possible. Yeah. Well, he tells the story a little bit differently than I do. But but it was. But no, I mean he was staying at a friend's, and he needed me to come in, and I said, well, I can't let him get away with. There's got to be a price to pay, right? But what was kind of funny was I had to stand out there for typical waiting for a teenage boy to do something. I mean, it took longer, so I'm standing out there in this mask, fully aware how ridiculous I look. And these two middle-aged ladies are coming, walking into the movie theater, and I can tell they're muttering under their breath. About
whose dad's that? Yeah.
What the hell is this? I mean, is this like somebody on an extended release or something like that,
or they were just liquored up.
It could have been. So I pulled up my mask and I said, "I'm here to embarrass my son." And then they started.
And then the
laughing.
two old women said, "Put it back on."
And they're like,
they said, "Go right ahead." They started laughing. So
Vinkman, thank you for the super chat. He wants to know our favorite MJ centric stories. Parallel Lives, one of my favorite. Also the Origin in 259. I like that one by DeFalco and Friends.
The Sensational Spider-Man Annual #1
by Fraction. That's a good one.
Yep.
What do you guys like?
I love her origin. I love how it changes everything, and it just works perfectly. And then obviously, I've slightly become synonymous with the wedding. Because I will not let anyone forget about that particular wedding dress. It makes me so mad when they don't draw it, because I'm like, do you not understand what a big deal that was in 1987 to have a legitimate designer design a dress for comics? I know now it happens all the time, but that was the first.
And where is the dress? Kelly wants to know what happened to it.
That is Kelly's Ditko picture. The dress is Kelly's Ditko picture.
Because again, that dress was also actually designed for that wedding thing, officiated by Stan Lee in was it which stadium was it?
Shea
Stadium.
Shea Stadium
no longer exists.
So
Willie something drew the dress.
It's Willie Smith. And
Willie Smith.
The thing is too, that might have been the designed himself, because Willie Smith Designs also went under shortly after. I think it was like 1990, 1991, because about 6 months after he designed this dress, so about the time it started getting published, he actually died from complications with AIDS. So this is one of the last. Yeah, so this is one of his last things, and honestly, it might be his last, like his last biggest thing, because he was known more for his 80s track wear and streetwear.
Really?
Yep. Which is pretty MJ.
JR and George, favorite MJ story?
I'm going back to I don't know if it's my favorite MJ centric story, but one that I always come back to is during the JMS run, that Dr. Doom story at the airport. where Mary
Oh,
Jane came back. That was to me so iconic, that big splash page of them just talking,
Mhm.
you know, and they're both bawling their heads off and everything. I thought that was
That's a good
beautiful.
one.
And then she was like, "You never introduced me to your work friends," and so he introduced her to Captain America.
Captain America. Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a good
JR?
one.
Wow. I mean, I've always been very fond of Mary Jane as a character, and it's hard to pick out a. There's just a number of things. I mean, I like her clubbing the chameleon. I like the fact that when Peter went after her in Pittsburgh, that she clubbed Alistair Smythe on the leg or whatever. You know, just, hey kid, give me that baseball bat. And I don't know, just the stories where she's his partner. I mean, so I'm having a hard time coming up with a particular story, but there's just a lot of little moments that I like. I mean, Parallel Lives obviously is a great, because basically, I mean, that's one of the biggest retcons of all.
It is.
You know,
worked.
I mean, and but yeah, see, that's the thing. It's one of those things. I mean, it gets back to storytelling. You know, I mean, and everybody on the outside of fandom wants to talk about how anal fans are and how toxic fans are and how unaccepting fans are of things different, but not if you give them a good story. Not if you give them a good story and treat the characters they love with respect, you know. And you know, so here's this big retcon, you know, that Mary Jane knew all the time. Did you hear any griping from, you know? Nope, we all loved it, you know. So I don't know, that one probably, I suppose, because I think that really did kind of show how they were destined for each other. So
Josh, thank you for the super chat. Favorite Doc Ock stories? We've mentioned. Go ahead, George.
The
owl.
The owl, the war he had with the owl was really good. The issue where Spider-Man ripped his arms off was fantastic.
That's like spec
that's
76 or something.
Yeah, it was like 75, 76, something like that. Yeah. The whole story lasted like about 10 issues, and there were a couple of off issues, and even then it ended like in 79. You know, it was outside when the owl thing was done. It was, you know, that's
there was just so much happening in the owl octopus stuff.
Kelly, favorite Ock story?
I'm gonna say Volume 1, Issue 131, just because it's so silly. When Aunt May marries
the wedding.
The wedding of
Aunt
May
that's
and Doc
funny.
Ock. Yeah,
Which had Hammerhead in it. Again, we have a Hammerhead story.
Yeah, Mike.
The very first appearance of Dr. Octopus, which
Number
is
3.
Spider-Man number 3. That was actually, I think that my first exposure to that was like one of those one of those old ViewMasters. And exactly, it was actually one of those. They did reprint of those things. Like, and it's like, that was so. Especially, I like what really sticks out in my mind, because there you got Ock at his most best, and the fact that he basically not only defeats Spider-Man, but he kind of humiliates him with it by slapping him in the face after he's got him. It's like, just to add insult to injury. It's like, oh, you're not even worth my time. And just like, because I'm such a super genius, and just throws him out. And it's just like, and it shatters his it's the first time Spider-Man's confidence gets shattered and everything like this, and how he feels like, oh, I gotta. It's also one of the better rematches of all time, because it's also because Spider-Man actually has to use his intelligence to defeat the villain for once. Yep.
Also in those early issues, Spider-Man's first real big iconic moment that's been recreated so many times, when he's buried under the rubble.
The Master Planner.
That was a Dr. Octopus story. That was it was Master Planner, but that Master Planner was Dr. Octopus.
Yep. Another big favorite one of mine. Yep. I'm a disco fan. What can I say?
Let me see here. Mary has a question for JR. Did you hear the news about William Shatner saying that he's never seen anything Star Trek related except Star Trek V, which he directed?
You know, I actually, strangely enough, I did see that. First of all, with Shatner,
he's 90. My God.
He's Shatner is a force of nature. He's a force of nature, and I do have a tremendous amount of respect for him as a survivor in the business, as somebody who has reinvented himself time and time again, as someone who continues to make himself relevant. And also he's stopped. He's not one of those who. I'm trying to think. He doesn't. I could be wrong. I don't follow his Twitter or anything, but it seems like he's historically avoided being too political. You know, I mean, although he likes to bait people. But that's the thing too. When Shatner said, "I've not," you got to. Sometimes Shatner, you can't take Shatner at face value. He says a lot of things that I'm sure he knows are false, or he's trolling people, or. But I don't. I mean, a lot of actors can't stand to watch themselves, though. You know, and particularly, I mean, when you have such a huge body of work, it's like looking at old pictures of yourself. You know, you look at old pictures of yourself in high school and go, "Oh my God," you know, and I'm sure that a lot of actors just can't stand to watch themselves. You know, so I would say that, you know, it's partially true. You know,
I like that Shatner has always refused to let the industry define him.
Yes.
Like Ray said, he reinvents himself, and it's absolutely true. Like he's always been willing, or he's never been willing to accept people shoeboxing him into just the Star Trek thing.
Yeah.
You know, I look at the way he branched out. He branched out in a way that the others really never did. You know, because you know, he went on to T.J. Hooker, and he's always had these recurring roles in movies, or even if he just shows up for one scene, or he goes on. There was that legal drama he was on. What was that? Boston something?
Boston Legal.
Boston Legal.
Right.
Yeah. You know, and he refuses to let the industry keep him down. He's always going to find something new. I bet he still does stuff until the day he's dead.
Oh yeah, he's definitely one of those he is going to die doing something.
He's going to be working.
You know, he's going to be.
He still looks pretty good for a guy.
He does.
He looks great. I think he's had work.
He looks 10 years late. He looks 10 years.
He could pass for 70.
Yeah, he's had work, but he's had work done, obviously. Yeah. But he keeps himself. He keeps himself mentally agile. I mean, the thing is, I know. I mean, there are things he's done and said. Over the years. The thing is, though, I think a lot of the actors associated with Star Trek, and even actors who not just Star Trek, I think when they're younger and they do kind of get typecast like that, they do get resentful. They do say things
like Walter Koenig.
Well, Walter, I think no matter what, I just get the impression that no matter, Walter is just kind of an angry man.
Yeah,
I think
he would a lot of them are like that.
Yeah, but I think as they got older, they made peace with it. Leonard Nimoy definitely was someone who, although he was too classy to really be quoted saying anything, I think he had a really hard time with it for a while.
Yeah. With the book, I'm Not Spock, and the
that wasn't even that's one of the most misunderstood things. He did not. That was not him repudiating Spock, because I've got that book. I mean, in fact, I even had him autograph it once, because all you got to do is flip. All you got to do is flip the cover, flip on the back, and it says, "I am not Spock." But if I am not Spock, then who is? And the whole book is his ruminations on being Spock, and he has conversations between himself and Spock, which doesn't. I mean, it's not as goofy as it sounds. Right. So he's always had. So that's one of the most misinterpreted things. But a lot of Nimoy's problems too is Nimoy and Roddenberry had a falling out. Nimoy was not one who would sit by and let Paramount use his image without paying him.
Justifiably so,
yeah. And so Nimoy, a lot of Nimoy's problems were vested in his legal dealings, and Roddenberry, frankly, was an unethical man. But I think a lot of them, though, James Doohan summed it, and I don't mean to go on a big Star Trek, but James Doohan summed it up in his book, which actually Peter David helped him write his biography. I think at the very end, James Doohan kind of summed it up by saying, I missed out on a lot and blah, blah, blah. One, he said, though, he met his wife at a Star Trek convention. So he said, I met this woman at a convention and I've had 2 sons with her. He says, so no, I mean, I do not want to think about what life would have been without Star Trek, because it would have been life without them as well. But he also said, I started out with a bunch of actors who are a lot better than I was, and they're all forgotten, but people remember who I am.
Well, that's cool.
But I think it took him a lot of years to get to that point.
Yeah,
it really. I think, and Shatner made a comment of, he wrote a book called Get Alive, and the whole book was, well, I finally get it. I finally understand that these aren't just a bunch of weirdos. That one reason they're attracted to Star Trek is because they find people who have similar interests, and there's people become friends and families and things of that nature, and they finally get it. And so I'm sitting there thinking, as I'm reading this, So what the hell were you thinking in the prior 25 years then? If you finally get it now,
Right.
you know,
Mary, this is what happens when you ask a Star Trek question. You get JR going off.
whatever.
The panel has agreed to go till 11. We're going to wrap it up then.
One of the real quick one, because we were talking about Shatner, and there's one thing I wanted to point out about Shatner before we end Shatner. One of the things that I read about Shatner, and which was very sad, was about the death, I think, of his second wife, who struggled with alcoholism.
In a pool. She drowned.
And he basically came home and she was dead in the pool.
Yeah.
And about how like Nimoy helped get him through that, and had been trying to help his wife as well. And I thought that was a really touching story. I like the stories between Nimoy and Shatner, even though, you know, for a lot of years it was like, you know, they had a feud and everything, but they were still at the core, they were still two men that, like, you know, like, I think they did generally like one another.
Yeah.
And there was that big stink when Nimoy died and Shatner didn't go to the funeral, but that was because he had a charity event he'd already scheduled for that day. And I remember that because a lot of people tried to make Shatner look bad for that. And I was like, I think Nimoy probably would have wanted him to go and help the charity he was helping.
Yeah.
You know, but I like hearing stories about them personally. That's always been interesting to me.
They were, I mean, I'm sorry, not to keep dragging it, but I think they were, and they did have, the thing is they were very competitive. They were like very competitive brothers, and it did take them a long time to truly become friends. And something happened between them. I'm not sure what it was. I mean, I've got my theories, but they're not all, I think a lot of people want to blame Shatner for everything. And Nimoy had his issues too. Nimoy could be Nimoy could hold a grudge. He could hold a grudge. He could get offended easily. There's no telling. But they did. I think they were like one of the Brady Bunch once described why some of them were still close after all those years. It's like because there's nobody else who understands what we went through except each other.
It's kind of like Thomas Jefferson and John Adams. Like they started off as friends and then they hated one another for the longest time. And then towards the end of their lives, they became friends and didn't realize that they had died within hours of one another on the same day, which was 50 years after they'd signed the Declaration of Independence. True story.
The panel's agreed to go another 10 minutes at 11 o'clock. We're going to wrap it up.
Stop talking Star Trek. Stop talking Star Trek.
Like no more Star Trek questions.
I know. And I love Star Trek. So panel, we're going to answer these quick. So also viewers, we got 10 minutes. Hit us with your questions. We're going to answer them fast. The first one up is Matt Bird. He wants to know if we would like a Spider-Man anime movie.
No.
Well, technically, we already had one with Into the Spider-Verse. Well, although that was technically
that was Penny Parker.
Yeah, but that was kind of a.
I think they mean like anime, like actual
anime,
Japanese.
It also that's.
Technically, we kind of have one. If you talk about those disc spinners, they kind of did one.
Yeah,
they kind of did one.
It's already kind of happened. It's not great, and in fairness, like I won't say Into the Spider-Verse is anime because it's American animation, not Japanese animation.
Right.
But like unless it's an anime style, like Japanese Spider-Man movie, like where it's all just that lore of
with Leopardon.
Leopardon, then that's cool. But otherwise, no, I don't really care for it.
Technically, they kind of did one. I mean, Marvel did the anime too, because remember they had that thing with an X-Men anime, Wolverine anime,
I
and
remember
the Blade
that.
one. I think they did an Iron Man one.
Yeah.
Slot's whole run was paced like an anime story. So no, I'm done. I'm sorry, Kelly. I didn't mean to.
I like what Trust Toby 1016 says. Give MJ a lamp. It's like giving Bruce Lee nunchucks. I like that one.
I made a TikTok about it.
I liked Return of the Sinister Six, Doc Ock in a white suit and an evil bastard. I like that one too. Vinkman remembers that Viewmaster. I do too. Peter Palmer says the best Doc Ock stories in the video game. That's a good story.
Is that better than Spider-Man 2?
No.
Because to me, Spider-Man 2 might
that's a good one.
That's a very strong one.
There's parallels to it, actually. I mean,
let's see. I just had one. Here's a fun one. What's your favorite Venom story? Go, George. Well,
I've always
300, right?
Yeah, I've always said that the only Venom story I like is the first one where we actually see Brock as Venom. But that was before the brains crap. And he actually, there was a level of menace to him that was actually visceral. You could actually feel it. But then after that, he just became an over-the-top parody very quickly. So
Mary loves your Star Trek input. JR?
Oh,
Matt wants to know if you ever read any Shatner's tech books.
Oh, I
remember those.
I actually
I have a few.
You do?
Yeah.
I never read them. Were they any good?
No, not that I.
No,
here's the thing. I mean, I actually have it. I mean, there is a great podcast put out by the guys who made Mystery Science Theater 3000 and do the riff tracks. And it's called 362 Pages We Can Never Get Back. Which basically started with as they first started by doing Ready Player One, which they absolutely hated, and then they started going. Then they went into one of their things was Tech War, and they started going into going through page by page and everything. Like so it's almost like a podcast book club of bad books and bad novels, and it's great. Especially if
Peter Palmer disagrees with it. He says the PS4 game is a better Ox story than Spider-Man 2. I disagree. But to each his own, Peter Palmer. Tech War TV series. Greg Evigan, BJ and the Bear. Remember that? That was
that's right.
BJ and the Bear and My Two Dads.
Oh my God!
They did a Tech War TV. So.
Oh wow! Again,
I think the little girl from that show grew up into like a district attorney. I think it was that show. Like she's an actual like DA that prosecutes murder cases.
Oh, that's cool.
I think that was her.
The other one was what's his name from Aliens and
Michael Biehn.
Michael Biehn.
No, the slime ball lawyer.
Paul Reiser.
Paul Reiser. Yeah, Beverly Hills Cop 2 and
My Two Dads. Yeah.
If we don't have any more questions, we're going to go for another couple minutes. But if you don't have any questions, we'll wrap it up. I did want to promote what Kelly and I and Neil and Javi are doing tomorrow night.
Yes.
We're going to do a pre-show at 7:30 for Spider Satellites. How many books do we have, Kelly, tomorrow night?
Jesus.
I have. Here's the list, by the way.
They read bad comics, so you don't have to.
Thunderbolt, King and Black, Spider-Man, Sword number 4, Spider-Woman 10, Champions 4-5, Gwenom versus Carnage 3, King and Black, Captain America, Nonstop Spider-Man number 1, Carnage, Black, White, and Blood number 1, King and Black, Scream, King and Black, Hulkling and Wiccan, Savage Avengers 19, Miles Morales 24, and the new Morbius one-shot is what we're going to tackle.
All that money you'll never have again.
Good grief. King and Black is an event that never ends.
Yeah, no, it truly. Who has Morbius?
12, 13, 14, 15. I don't know. I think Neil or Tyler does.
Make Neil do it because he's emo like Morbius is.
Yeah. I don't think Neil has it. So if Tyler doesn't have, I'll read it just in case Tyler doesn't have it. But I like how I'm stuck on Savage Avengers.
You are. So that Conan, you love the Conan. But we're going to do a pre-show at 7:30 at 8 o'clock. We go exclusively to Patreon members. That's our thank you for supporting us each and every month. And this is the show that you get. Anthony says King and Black Spider-Man was all right. I have not read it. Josh has a question for Kelly. How would you react if Mayday Parker died in Spider-Verse?
Okay. Actually, I talked about this recently. So I have a couple. I have slightly collected a couple of younger fans. And when I say younger, I'm like they are 17, 18, 19 years old. So kids to me now at this point. And we've discussed this because we were discussing what they had wanted as a continuation after Spider-Geddon since they love it so much. I was dead. During Spider-Geddon, if you had told me that Mayday wasn't going to die at the end of Spider-Girls, I would have fought you because they had set it up where basically, no, she's going to sacrifice herself so Annie lives. Because that's the family now. That's how it was set up. And I was so shocked that didn't happen because they kept saying, I was like, they're going to pull that Buffy scene, where I think what was end of season 5 and she jumps off the tower and dies. I totally was expecting that. And then of course I was wrong by 2 episodes of Buffy because then they reference the second episode of season 6 where Buffy's hand comes up from the grave, but it's for Peter, and that's the end of MC2.
Mhm.
I had made peace of it for Spider-Geddon after the events of Spider-Verse, and part of me says she might as well have died in Spider-Verse, because everything that makes her story special, everything that makes her character special, was completely assassinated by the writers of Spider-Verse, and she has never recovered unless Tom and Ron and the whole Spider-Girl crew are behind the story. And that is, so to me, it is almost sickening how sad that is.
I agree. All right, last question of the night is from Timothy to JR. Timothy Byrne wants to know, JR, if there was a burning building with Peter, Harry, and Norman inside, who would Norman Osborn rescue? Go.
Without a doubt, it'd be his grandson. He's the one he's got the most hope for. He considers Harry a lot, but that's kind of that's one of those questions that doesn't have a good answer. I mean, that implies that Norman didn't love his kid or whatever, and I don't know
that. Norman, I agree. I agreed. Go for Norman.
I know, but it's like anything else. I mean, that's the thing. That's what a normal person might do, though.
Yeah, but
save the youngest one. That's not so much a what would a supervillain do. I mean, that's almost like what you'd save the child. If you could only save one person. But before we go, I just wanted to say, because we talked about Mary Jane so much, we talked about variant covers. I'm not a variant cover guy. But it's like I get an issue, whatever. That's it. But I happen to be in a comic shop one time looking for something else, and I saw this variant from
nice.
it, and I have
that one too.
I had not seen it, and that's one of the fun about, I guess, living in the Cleveland area. They have multiple comic shops, and sometimes you find something that a different shop that you wouldn't find at where you usually go. And that was when I bought it, the guy said, "Yeah, it's a pretty good cover." I said, "Yeah, that's an eye catcher." I mean, that just boom. So, but I mean, that's another great depiction of Mary Jane, where she's absolutely gorgeous, but she's not
over the top. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so.
I said it was the last question, but Venkman gave us a super chat. We're going to go with that one. He wants to know Kelly's favorite MJ outfit, and also wants to know if you're going to do Mayday outfits again in May from your closet like you did last year.
I'm going to pull a few that I did not do. But it's not going to be a full week, and it's not going to be a full month. But I do plan on doing a few Mayday outfits. And then I don't know what my favorite. I mean, I guess my favorite MJ outfit would have to be her wedding dress, just because I love the lore of it. And I want to find it.
Sparkly one too. You cosplayed as the sparkly dance club one.
Her first cover outfit. Yeah, I like that one too. I mean, I like almost everything Mary Jane wears. It's not my style at all, but I love whenever she's wearing something tacky and crazy. That's why I think, like y'all were saying, oh my goodness, this outfit's horrible. But I'm like, classic MJ.
I didn't say that.
Classic.
Didn't say
Brad.
I did. Are you talking about the pants from this and the Tron shirt?
Yeah. Out of this. So the thing is like, it doesn't quite match up exactly where they got their inspiration from, and I'm like, she would be wearing those jeans, she would be wearing that top, she would wear them together because it's gaudy as all get out, because that's just who she is. Like, as much as, because the thing is like, she is a natural beauty, and so sometimes she doesn't need to be all glammed up to be beautiful or or relatable. But the thing is her fashion has always been loud, and I love it when she's loud.
I like her loud too. I guess that she was loud this month, wasn't she?
If Kelly winds up cosplaying as a wedding dress MJ, it'll cement what I said earlier about the wedding dress being to Kelly what Steve Ditko's photo or not. Was not to Brad. Because remember that phase Brad went through where he was wearing glasses.
Oh my God!
He was wearing glasses on the podcast and saying he was Steve Ditko, that he was cosplaying as Steve Ditko.
I've thought about it, but like wedding dress, like to do it right, I feel like the cost of it would be too much.
Right.
That's why I'm hoping maybe someone just has it like in their closet somewhere, and they're just like, yeah, you want it, and I'll just take it. That's kind of my hopes. My crazy hope.
Michael Reed started this podcast taking a test, and he just got done with it. He got a B+. Congratulations.
Yay.
Oh, I thought he was making fun of Brad by saying, I just watched the podcast. I give it a B.
Like the cover art. Hornacek says, in that hypothetical for JR, Norman started the fire, by the way. All right. We went an extra hour than we expected. So thank you for watching it so much. Like I said, Kelly and Neil and Javi and Tyler and I will be on tomorrow. Watch us at 7:30 to 8, and then at patreon.com/crawlspace. We will do that show reviewing 15 books. And we will be back next month with more ASM reviews. See you, gang.